Okay, get that started. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Let me know when you guys ready.
Yeah, all set.
Can you send me the chat real quick?
All right, Anthony, Jesse, what would you guys say is the hardest thing about collecting comics?
Money?
Yeah, it's money. It's finding where exactly to find these comics.
Covers?
Yeah.
All right, you guys just found a whole bunch of reasons not to collect comics. That's great. No, the hardest thing about collecting comics is getting your books signed. Because you got to find out where these guys are appearing across the country. You got to get yourself a plane ticket. You got to get yourself a hotel room because you're not flying for just a day. You got to pack your luggage, pay your airline fees, pay your taxis to get you to and from, your food at the locations, man. What if somebody could get those signatures for you at a little bit above cost?
How much we talking?
Like $8 an issue.
That is damn good.
Okay. That's the advantage of talking to Celestial Comics and Desert Wind Comics. What they can do is they can take your books for you, and for an average of only about $8 above the cost of getting the signatures, the fees of the guys who sign it, they will take your books across the country for you, get them signed by the creators, and get it certified. That means you can get your books back with a certificate, so when you send that in for CGC grading, it's a guaranteed yellow card.
Damn, it's pretty good. It's pretty good,
Now,
yeah.
I think everybody would take advantage of that service if they knew they didn't have to leave their home to get their comics.
Yeah.
If they knew that, they would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about what Desert Wind Celestial can do. They'll send you a form. All you got to do is put the form and your comics in a sealed envelope, send it to Desert Wind, and they'll take care of all that for you.
Awesome.
Damn. Where can I find this information about this?
You can find all the information about their services at desertwindcomics.com. They have specialty signings with creators. They will have creators at their booths at conventions across the country, including San Diego and New York Comic-Cons.
Awesome. Tell her she get on that. Yeah. Come on, Jesse. Let's go do it right now.
Go get it! No. No, you can actually go to desertwindcomics.com. They have the forms. They have special signings that Stan Lee has, even. So if you're willing to pay that fee and just an $8 above Stan Lee signing fee, you can get yellow-carded Stan Lee comics.
I should do that, actually, to
All
be
right.
honest. I should really get on that.
All right, so if you're like me, and you're cheap, I don't have mad money to go running across the country as much as I would like to. You go to desertwindcomics.com, fill out their forms, send them your books. You will get them back signed and ready for grading.
Sweet.
All right, one more time, desertwindcomics.com. Go check it out. It's seriously worthwhile. I now have a dozen Stan Lee signed books. And no, I'm not giving any of you my address.
You don't have to. I know where you live.
I need to recruit a party to fight off the evil that threatens this world. Black mage, white mage, and warrior.
That's social justice warrior.
Yeah, right. Whatever. For the last time, you can't wear ninja armor. You're a warrior. You have to wear warrior armor.
Oh, forcing me into traditional class roles with my clothing. Don't you know many people identify as class fluid?
I don't get what any of that means.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the show that says it doesn't matter who won or lost. The true loser of the World Series was Back to the Future 2. I am Jeremy.
Steve. And Jesse.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and on Tumblr. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machine Supremacy. You can find more of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard is Social Justice RPG. It's by Dorkly. You can find more of their videos on youtube.com under their channel of Dorkly. It has been a long darn week.
Yeah.
You know, conventions can do that, man, because as much fun as they are and we take a week off from the show, that means we have 3 days of intense work before going back to day jobs.
Yep.
So, the review of Kamikaze as of this recording is not up quite yet. I just finished typing it up. I need to process my photos. They'll be up very soon, probably before this show actually goes up. How are you guys doing?
Oh, man, I had a rough week at work, that's for sure.
Yeah? Did they pull out the whips and chains or what?
No, I wish that my feet would probably hurt a lot less, and I don't know.
Dude, I would be really curious to see what the security cams in your work pick up if that's what they did. So, what's all this about your feet?
Huh? Oh, I actually had to work out on the floor after, first time in about a year.
Oh, okay, bummer. Actually having to stand up for work. Oh no,
Yep.
Nobody
Poor
does
baby.
that.
Poor baby. Oh, like, you have room to bitch, Jeremy. You fucking sit down all day, too. Don't give me that shit.
Yeah, but where did I start out? I was a pizza slinger. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so you're on your feet a bit. Oh no.
Yeah, no, it fucking hurts for 12 hours.
What about you, Jesse? What were you up to?
Work, sleep, and I watched Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I did that on Thursday.
Yesterday.
Yeah, that made it into the news a little bit, and I figured that wouldn't be something we talk about for a week or two. As a matter of fact, I was considering calling off next weekend's recordings simply because you guys are going to be busy.
Wait, what?
Well, you two are going to be involved in the 24-hour extra live stream for Mission Start.
Right.
Yeah.
I can fit in a recording during that period because I can't make it, but you guys are going to be pretty busy as it is, so I didn't think you needed me up your nose during that period.
Yeah, and I will not be able to make it the week after.
Ah, okay.
I hadn't said anything yet.
Yeah, it's good to know ahead of time. The subject of this week is issues 8 through 12 of Vision, Tom King's run in the comic book. Actually, 7 through 12, sorry. We'll get to that after we get through the news of the week. We always start with Marvel Media News. That's where we talk about Marvel properties that are headed to the internet, television, movie screens, and a whole bunch of other places other than comic book pages. We touched on Doctor Strange just a little bit, and the estimates for its opening weekend have gone up. As of early this week, the projections were in the $85 million range, which for a Marvel movie, it's okay. They usually expect a bit more money to come down, but for a non-marquee movie, that's so-so. As a result of the sales on Thursday and Friday and the projections for Saturday, that estimate has now bumped up to $95 million for an opening weekend.
Okay.
To put it in context, that would put it solidly ahead of Ant-Man and slightly ahead of Thor: Dark World. Would you call that a success for somebody who's not regularly known as an Avenger?
Yeah, I would say that's actually pretty remarkable.
The movie to me was pretty good. If I had any single complaint, it was that if people thought villains in the Marvel Universe were before, dude, Caecilius is like half a note. He really could have been replaced by just about any character that had more than 2 syllables in his name for as much screen time as they gave him. I get it. It's an origin movie. What are you going to do? The villain's not the big part of this, but wow, he really could have been swapped with just about anything. As a matter of fact, there is a video that came out this week because it was revealed who the inspiration was for the spellcasting in Doctor Strange. The director, Scott Derrickson, was trying to come up with how to do the gestures of magic, and he is a fan of something called tuttering. You know what this word is?
No idea.
I had not heard of it until just a couple days ago. Tuttering is basically fast hand movements set to music. It's like dancing with just your hands.
Oh, okay.
And it turns out that the director is a fan of a YouTube celebrity called Jay Funk, who is called one of the world's best tutterers. He referred anybody in the movie who was going to do magic to watch a particular video online, and thankfully, the people at IO9 did their investigation and left a link to one of Jay Funk's videos. You want to see what this cat's about?
Yeah, sure. Curiosity. Might kill me, but let's look it out.
Your confidence is completely underwhelming at this point. Would you like to see the video?
Yes!
Okay. I sent the video. make it too long, but there you go. This is the guy who is responsible for the inspiration.
Interesting.
At least they came up with something that wasn't quite as weird. You know, it didn't stop some extremely conservative people from decrying Doctor Strange as Satanism, but what can you do? There's always those.
Yeah, you use the word magic, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, I don't need to see it. I already know it is of Satan. According to director Peyton Reed, the director of Ant-Man and the Wasp, he says that the new movie upcoming will be a coming-out party for the superhero of Hope Van Dyne. He recently told Moviefone, quote, "I'm just personally excited to get to introduce another character into the Marvel Universe. After Ant-Man, now we get to see the Wasp, who we're really designing her look, the way she moves, the power set, and figuring out, sort of, who Hope Van Dyne is as a hero, because we know her in a certain context in the first movie, but now she's going to have her coming-out party. That's exciting," unquote.
Coming out party, huh?
Oh, you know, the Wasp has had at least one husband who beat the crap out of her in the Marvel Universe, and now she's working on whatever her romantic relationship... No, she's had a second husband. She married Havoc for a short time.
Really?
Yeah, it was part of the Uncanny Avengers, the first volume storyline, had a daughter with him, but Kang stole the daughter into time, and she hasn't been seen since. And then Havoc went insane because of the whole Axis. If you recall, the inverting of people's alignments.
Oh, right.
Oh.
And unfortunately, at the end of Axis, he was one of 3 characters, including Sabretooth and Tony Stark, who didn't come out of it with their original alignments intact. Ant-Man The Wasp is scheduled right now for a July 6, 2018 release. That sounds like a very long time, but dude, that's only 2 Comic-Cons from now. It's scary to think about in that context. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 has finished filming.
Okay.
James Gunn, though, is already working on a few new projects, including some for Marvel. He's directed the next 3 Stan Lee cameos, including Stan Lee's appearance in Doctor Strange. He said, quote, "If I'm writing for Stan, why give him 1 line when I can give him 1,000? I just kept throwing lines at him, one after the other, until we were doubled over with laughter. Someday, after you've seen the movie, maybe Marvel Studios will let me share some of those with you. And it was definitely one of the most fun times I've ever had on set. There are few people in this world I love and admire more and have more fun with than Stan Lee. Even though he does love breaking my and everyone else's balls. I introduced him to Tom Holland for the first time, and he said, 'Everyone says you're great. Personally, I don't see it,' unquote."
I can see it on a DVD, Blu-ray extras, like, man of 1,000 words. Stan Lee.
I'm just trying to picture poor Tom Holland. Yes, I get to be Spider-Man. Why does his creator hate me? Speaking of reactions, Charlie Cox reacted to the news that Sigourney Weaver was cast as the villain in The Defenders. And believe it or not, he apparently found out the same time as the rest of the world.
Oh.
At New York Comic-Con. He said, quote, "You know, when she came on stage with us in New York Comic-Con, I wanted to say, in Hell's Kitchen, no one hears you scream. I don't think it gets any better than Sigourney Weaver. I think we're immensely lucky to have her, and it's a testament to shows like Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. The quality of those shows have drawn someone of her caliber, which is very exciting for us. I can't wait to read it and have a scene with her. It's one of those experiences I'll probably remember for the rest of my career," unquote. Although, knowing how he plays Daredevil, that means he'll get to spend hours with her and never look her in the eyes. The director for the series has also been named. S.J. Clarkson, who's been a director on Jessica Jones, Vinyl, and Orange is the New Black, will direct the first 2 episodes of the 8-episode limited series. This will debut sometime in 2017. And, I've recently been watching Orange is the New Black. That actually is a pretty thoughtful show. And, of course, I've watched Jessica Jones. I don't know which episodes S.J. Clarkson has done, but I would say that's putting it in good hands.
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend recently, and he... You
weren't talking to a Freudian? Okay.
He was basically saying that Jessica Jones, out of all of them so far, is his favorite.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that thus far. You know, the narrative on Cage gets a little slow in the second half, and the narrative on Daredevil, it has some serious open ends on it that I'm pretty sure will be solved sometime in the future, but it's kind of frustrating to have a major plot hole, like the large hole in Season 2, unexplained. You know, I'd still like to know why there's a 40-story hole underneath New York. And as far as the Defenders go, 2 more characters have been added to the list of characters appearing in the show. This may end up being about as big as Avengers Infinity War. They've officially added Rosario Dawson as Claire Temple. I don't think that's any major surprise. She's been everywhere fracking house.
Yeah.
Now, the other character officially added is one that shouldn't be as surprising, but probably will be to a lot of people who don't know the comics, because this character is the only one in the series so far that has actually been a Defender in the comics. Patsy Walker, a.k.a. Trish Walker, known in the comics as Hellcat, has been added to the Defenders.
Okay.
It's unknown whether or not she will have her alter ego in the show so far. I imagine since we're this far along, probably about half the filming, I would imagine, has been completed by now. It is 8 hours worth of material, after all.
Yeah.
And there have been more additions to the cast since the original announcements. Eldon Henson, also known as Foggy Nelson from Daredevil, he has joined the cast. And 2 characters from Jessica Jones have been added. Eka Darville, who is known as Malcolm. Remember the meth head in the first half of the series?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and Carrie Ann Moss as Jaren Hogarth has been added to the Defenders.
Of course.
Yep. Most of these announcements came out via Twitter. Now, the first images have come out for the new animated Big Hero 6 series, and I was actually astonished to find out that the majority of the movie cast is reprising their roles as the animated cast.
Oh, that's cool.
You see Scott Adsit and Ryan Potter, who were Baymax and Hero, Jamie Chung as Gogo Yubari, and Genesis Rodriguez as Honey Lemon. All of them have come back. T.J. Miller and Damon Wayans, who played Fred and Wasabi, are not returning to the show, at the very least. If there's another movie, I bet they could probably be coaxed back in. The 2 actors are being replaced by Brooks Wheelan and Carrie Payton, respectively. I don't know who Carrie Payton is myself.
He voiced Cyborg in Aqualad.
That doesn't help.
Teen Titans.
I know who the characters are. I'm saying that doesn't help. The man has lost a lot of my personal respect after watching Teen Titans Go a couple times. Other returning actors from the film include Alan Tudyk, who plays Alistair Cray, Maya Rudolph as Aunt Cass, David Shaughnessy as Fred's butler Heathcliff, and Fred's dad, Stan Lee, is returning for the show.
Why not?
James Gunn also, he decided to mourn with a lot of other people out there, finding out that Tim Miller has walked away from the Deadpool sequel. He said recently on Twitter, quote, "Honestly bummed about Tim Miller leaving Deadpool. He did an amazing job with the first one. I'd like to have seen where he'd go next," unquote. There is a Change.org petition out to have Quentin Tarantino direct Deadpool 2. The petition apparently is not going quite as well as the writers intended. As of this past week, the current count on it was 1,121 signatures. I'm sure it was buoyed by the fact that Quentin Tarantino recently said that after his next 2 films, he plans on retiring. He doesn't want any new jobs, apparently. But if you thought losing the director was, bad, Deadpool 2 just lost somebody else.
Who?
The composer just walked out as well.
Huh.
On Twitter, he's known as Junkie XL. I'm sure he has a more formal name. But apparently, he decided to side with Tim Miller as to the reasons why he left the film, and without Miller, he doesn't feel like working on this project. He left a letter on Twitter that says, quote, "Dear friends, it is with a heavy heart that I've decided not to score the upcoming Deadpool movie. I love this character, and creating his and the movie's original score was a monumental chapter in my life, personally and professionally. Since it was revealed that Deadpool's brilliant creative director, Tim Miller, will not be involved in the project anymore, I've undertaken some soul-searching. Tim was the driving force behind Deadpool, and me getting involved in this amazing project. Deadpool without Tim at the helm just does not sit right with me, and that is why I've decided not to be involved in the second chapter. It was a difficult decision, as I love the project so much, and I know how eagerly the next installment will be anticipated. It is hard to walk away from something so unique, but it also has to feel right. Hope everyone understands. Onward and upward. Love, Tom. Unquote. As
I'm starting to get scared for Deadpool.
The movie's
said,
still gonna get made. About all Fox has left from the X-Men films, man. It's going to get made, but I mean, it's going to be without some of the major leads that made it what it was. So this is a big step back, as well as potentially pushing back the production schedule of the movie itself.
Right.
So this is seriously bad news. Do you think the movie's going to be worth it without the director?
I really couldn't say. I've got a lot of faith in Ryan Reynolds' acting, but again,
someone needs to rein him in.
Yeah. I don't know. It remains to be seen. Have to watch the movie to really be able to tell, or at least some trailers or something, because really have no information right now.
Well, that's the thing, though. We're at a stage where trailers are impossible because the people that would have made a lot of them, they're not there.
That's not quite true.
The trailers are still made out of movie footage, so it still requires the work of a director.
True. Although I don't know if they specifically go with the movie director or if they have a separate art director.
Probably
varies depending on the project.
Yeah.
We'll move into DC Media News. We'll talk about the other major company and their multimedia projects coming to you soon. TNT and TBS have signed a deal to exclusively air DC films on cable broadcast television. That means that TNT and TBS will be the exclusive broadcasters for movies upcoming like Wonder Woman, the Justice League, and the Lego Batman film. Warner Brothers CEO Jeff Bewkes said on a quarterly earnings call, quote, "We announced this quarter that TBS and TNT have reached a deal with Disney to be the cable home for the entire canon of Star Wars movies, and a similar deal with Warner Brothers for its DC theatrical titles. That's added to an already strong lineup that also includes Disney's Marvel movies and the Hunger Games franchise," unquote. I'm not entirely sure, but doesn't Warner Brothers have a stake in TBS and TNT?
I think TNT. I don't know about TBS.
I'm not entirely sure. I think the two used to have a pretty big partnership with Warner, but I don't know if that survived the post-Ted Turner era.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah, it's just funny how American business can work. Sometimes the companies are allowed to give money to themselves for exclusive rights to stuff they already have. It's freaking weird. Speaking of the Justice League, the actor has been cast for the main villain of the film. Ciarán Hinds, who has recently been in Game of Thrones, has been revealed as playing Steppenwolf for the main villain of the movie. Hinds has already completed filming and voiceover work, with the role of Steppenwolf primarily being motion capture and CG technology. For those that don't know, Steppenwolf is one of the new gods of Apocalypse and one of Darkseid's main generals who often appears before his master to conquer worlds. Believe it or not, this is not Hinds' first geek movie. He first appeared as Mephistopheles in Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, a.k.a. the movie that a lot of people tried to avoid. And there has been a new trailer that dropped this week for the Wonder Woman movie. This movie is scheduled to come out June 2nd, 2017. I remember the first trailer. You want to see if there's been an improvement?
Let's try.
Let's try. Make it sound like Bad Teppanyaki. Okay, it's not the right color, but we'll try it. I sent the video. There she is at the Louvre.
Yeah.
I used to want to save the world.
The infamous photo everyone fought over.
This beautiful place.
Oh. So it looks like a nice vista. I wonder how much of that is CG.
Probably Steve Rogers. Or not Steve Rogers. What's his
Steve
name?
Trevor.
Trevor, thank you.
Or it could be Amelia Earhart.
That would change the story a little bit.
A little bit, but we all know that Wonder Woman is bi now, so it doesn't change it that much. What the?
Alright,
I learned this.
They're stretching physics a little more than necessary.
Yeah.
That whole arrow in the cliff thing, it's not the way a body would be positioned to fire that arrow, nor on the swing, unfortunately.
Weapons far deadlier than you can ever imagine.
Ooh, corrosive gas.
Welcome be ours.
What the hell is that?
Wherever you are.
Not sure.
More danger than you think.
I cannot stand by while innocent lives.
I don't know what DC's World War II history is. That's a strange phrase now that I've said it out loud.
Who is this woman? She's my secretary, sir.
Ooh.
She's a very good secretary.
It is our sacred duty to defend the world, and it's what I'm going to do.
I had a feeling that scene of her crawling out of the trench in full uniform was going to be a pretty heavily abused one. Still would like to know what that thing at her spine is.
Her sword?
I hope so. If not, she accessorizes very confusingly.
No, it's her sword. I still like the lasso.
Lasso's nifty. Okay.
How can a woman possibly fight in this?
Fight? We use our principles, although I am not opposed to engaging in a bit of fisticuffs should the occasion arise.
June 2017. Okay, that final joke for the trailer wasn't as good as the first one. I don't know. After viewing that, I think visually it's nice. It's definitely more colorful than the prior DC films. However, the fight choreography seems to be an issue for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that'll affect most of the film, because granted, fighting is probably only going to be 5 to 10% of the overall time of the film. But, wow. Some of the things that I've seen both in the first trailer and this one, it's pulling me out of the movie. So, I have concerns.
Pulling me in, but...
no, it's not pulling me out, it's pulling me out.
The period aspect might be enough for me to take a look at, but I don't know. Yeah, I can't say that it really changed my opinion one way or the other.
Okay. Is that a positive or negative opinion overall? Let's lay that out.
Positive. Troll. I would say positive.
Okay. Well, believe it or not, some good ideas for a solo Batman film have come from Frank Miller. If you recall, Frank Miller is the guy who wrote the trade paperback that inspired the 300 film. He is the guy who also directed the Spirit film, which did not do terribly well. And he told Variety recently, quote, "My dream would be to make it much smaller, to lose the toys and to focus more on the mission, and to use the city a great deal more. Because he's got a loving relationship with the city he's protecting. And unlike Superman, his connection to crime is intimate. It has been ever since his parents were murdered. And he defeats criminals with his hands, so it would be a different take. But it will never be in my hands because it would not be a good place to make toys from. There wouldn't be a line of toys," unquote. I like the vision he's laid out, though. To strip it down a little bit and make it more essential about the character than it is just about the gadgetry. You know, that's something he pointed out that I never quite noticed before, was that when it comes to Batman movies, people are about as focused on the gadgets as they are as the character. It's kind of like the 80s James Bond films. You know, where exactly did he stick the explosives this week? So I like his concept. And it's kind of fitting that he came out with such a vision because the director of American Psycho, Bret Easton Ellis, he apparently sat at dinner with some people, and it created a rumor, a very strong rumor about the solo Batman film, the one that Ben Affleck is working on.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't sound good if it holds water. And I say if because we'll cover that in a minute. What he recently told to The Ringer during an interview, quote, "I was having dinner with a couple of executives who know other executives who are working on the forthcoming Batman movie, The Batman. And they were just telling me that there are serious problems with the script, and that the executives I was having dinner with were complaining about people who work on the Batman movie. And they just said they went to the studio and they said, look, the script is, here's 30 things that are wrong with it that we can fix. And the executives said, we don't care. We really don't care. The amount of money we're going to make globally, 70% of our audience is not going to be seeing this in English. And it doesn't really matter, these things that you're bringing up about the flaws of the script. So I think the global concerns play a big part in how movies and what movies are being made, obviously, unquote.
Wow.
Yeah, now, again, that was a statement that came out early this past week. Just today, literally today, this Saturday, Bret Easton Ellis walked that back a little bit, but he walked it back in a very political, maybe that's not quite what I said type of way. He posted this online, quote, the two executives I was having dinner with were relating the problems that they had heard about the script from people working on the Batman project. That's all. I know no one involved with the Batman movie, and I didn't realize that my comments would make it onto the Ringer piece, or else I wouldn't have cited that particular movie. I have no idea what the Batman script is like, and I regret that it came off as if I was disparaging the project. Another reason to be careful during interviews, unquote. Now, there's no mistaking from the first quote he gave the Ringer that he was talking to two people who were apparently talking to other executives. You know, everything he was getting was secondhand, obviously. Mm-hmm. So, to make a denial of everything he said just by saying, I was talking to two people who weren't working directly on the film, yeah, that's obvious. However, you still said stuff that apparently is a big problem right now. So, and I say apparently because obviously Warner Brothers is not going to say, yeah, one of our tentpole features of our new cinematic universe is in serious jeopardy. So, what do you guys take from those statements? How much veracity would you give to this right now?
Quite frankly,
I think the executives are very short-sighted and think anyone's not American are idiots. That's my personal opinion.
I'm still questioning whether or not it's even true. He said, I heard this from my aunt's uncle's, great grandmother's somebody or other. He's not
that really far removed. He's just one step. He's supposedly one step removed from the people who are directly working on it, and the people he's having dinner with are concerned because they are other executives. Now, Jesse, to your point, it's not like these people are saying that moviegoers are idiots. What they're saying is, apparently, that the script isn't as big of a problem simply because they're going to be dubbing it into so many other languages anyway. They're saying that they can basically fix the problems just because they can handle the script in other languages after the movie is taped.
But that it doesn't matter what Americans think because we aren't the prime movie-going audience anymore.
Well, according to the way that certain executives feel, apparently, is that 70% of the revenue from these box offices now come from outside of the U.S., so that it's not as critical to fix the dialogue problems now. They can fix it later for other markets. Again, supposedly and apparently. But it is known that the U.S. is pretty close to not being the number one box office in the world at this point. China is very close.
I don't know.
It's one of those ugly realities of the world is that nothing stays on top forever.
That's not what I'm upset about. It's just they don't care enough to make. They don't care for the overall quality of their product to make it right the first time.
It's pretty standard of the entertainment industry as it is now. I mean, between reshoots, DLC, and everything else, there isn't much of a finished project that comes out when the project comes out. The Flash director who left the movie recently, Rick Famuyiwa, Famuywa, If you recall, he is the second director to leave this film before it's even begun filming.
Wow.
According to what he said after he left the project, quote, "When I was approached by Warner Brothers in DC about the possibility of directing The Flash, I was excited about the opportunity to enter this amazing world of characters that I loved growing up, and still do to this day. I was also excited to work with Ezra Miller, who is a phenomenal young actor. I pitched a version of the film in line with my voice, humor, and heart. While it's disappointing that we couldn't come together creatively on the project, I remain grateful for the opportunity. I will continue to look for opportunities to tell stories that speak to a fresh, generational, topical, and multicultural point of view. I wish Warner Brothers, DC, John Berg, Jeff Johns, and Ezra Miller all the best as they continue their journey into the Speed Force, unquote. So, it's another case, it sounds like, where a director just wasn't getting the vision he wanted out of the project because there's an overriding, I don't know about cancel, but there's definitely some party above him that controls the cinematic tone of the universe. And we already know that the person who initially controlled it, at the very least, was the director of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder.
But now it's Jeff Johns.
Is Jeff Johns and another individual, apparently, in concert with Snyder? That still varies depending on who talks. So, I wonder who exactly he talked to when he pitched his version of the film. He doesn't specify.
True.
Fans apparently have been vocal about not liking the direction that DC films have been taken. And apparently Famuyiwa's version of The Flash had humor and heart, but DC did not like that.
Do they have no compassion?
No, it sounds like they wanted to keep it more cinematically in line with the Man of Steel as far as overall tone. Which, again, is a Snyder film. And Warner Brothers has more issues when it comes to its DC cinematic projects. I don't know if this one fit into the universe, but it's one they've definitely been working on. We heard about an actor who wanted to play the role and was willing to executive produce. He left because of time schedule. Now, the screenwriter on the Sandman film has dropped out.
This
project was being done by New Line Cinema, which is one of Warner Brothers' offshoots as far as movie studios. The screenwriter was Eric Heiserer, and he cited creative differences. But basically it came down to the idea that Heiserer doesn't think The Sandman should be a film. He thinks it should be a TV series.
Oh.
He said, sorry?
No, I'll gonna let you finish.
Okay, he said, quote, I had many conversations with Neil Gaiman on this, and I did a lot of work on the feature and came to the conclusion that the best version of this property exists as an HBO series or limited series, not as a feature film, not even as a trilogy. The structure of the feature film really doesn't mesh with this. So I went back and said, here's the work that I've done. This isn't where it should be. It needs to go to TV. So I talked myself out of a job, unquote. I don't know enough about Neil Gaiman's Sandman to say whether or not it would work as a TV show or I should say a broadcast show or a movie. But if Neil what?
I was saying if he's suggesting it be a series, it must be really packed.
He probably tried to put in a lot. I've never read a Sandman graphic novel, so again, I don't know how much is in there.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I know that my personal preference right now is that the broadcast shows are better at storytelling than movies these days.
Yeah.
I've really gotten into binge watching stuff, and the story being able to unfold slowly over 8 to 10 hours rather than packed into somewhere between 90 and 240 minutes. No, that's too far. 90 and 180 minutes. Jesus, what am I watching? You were given a lot more of a chance for character growth and to actually have a full concept before the end credits roll. So I know where my heart feels in this. However, the DCW has added another character to the Arrow TV show. No longer are they going to settle with an off-brand daughter of Ra's al Ghul. They've decided to cast Talia al Ghul for the show. They've managed to pick up Lexa Doig from Continuum to play the role. It'll be a recurring role, actually, and will first appear in the 10th episode of the current season of Arrow, titled Who Are You? Talia al Ghul will be just like she is in the comics, as the half-sister of Nyssa, who's already a character on Arrow, and the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, and a worldly and cultured warrior who doesn't pick sides, but rather creates her own.
Interesting.
Yeah,
if I were so interested in the show.
I really have not watched the show. I don't like their directorial, how they tell stories. It feels like Dawson's Creek with arrows. The only thing that I've picked up from the show so far is that they kind of wish it was a Batman show. They seem to have taken Batman's villains and his entire problems and just moved them over to Star City. And last up in DC media news, this is not necessarily a Sideshow product, but it's being sold on SideshowToys.com. It is a Prime 1 statue. Are you guys familiar with that one?
No.
Prime 1 makes very big, very detailed statues. They're the ones who have made recent Transformers statues that retail for about $1,200.
Ooh.
Okay. Prime 1 has decided to make something else that retails for $2,100.
Jesus. What is it?
It's Wonder Woman. It is Gal Gadot from Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. I sent you guys a link to the IO9 story, and it actually has hair. Not porcelain-shaped as hair. It has hair in its head.
Oh.
This thing will be sold between July and September of 2017. It will set you back almost $2,100. I don't have much information. Oh, I'm sorry. It's going to be 40 inches tall, which puts it at roughly 3 1/3 feet. This thing is huge. It's well detailed too. At the right angles, it does look like Gal Gadot staring straight down the lens, and they did do some impressive detail work. You know, the contour of the muscles, and there are even spots where you can find veins on this character.
Wow.
I'm not asking if you would own it. I'm asking for your opinion. What do you think?
It's definitely impressive, but yeah.
I've seen people complain that this looks too much like Famke Janssen.
Who?
Famke Janssen. She played Jean Grey in the original X-Men films. She was also Xenia Onatop in GoldenEye. I don't see Famke Janssen in this. I'm impressed by the workmanship. But 3 1/3 feet tall? What the hell would you... I can't even imagine where this would sit in anyone's living room or art room or even man cave. You know, that would be intimidating, let alone if they ever came out with Batman and Superman. If you tried to put the three of those together, you're going to have someone walk in and say, "What's with the midgets in the corner in the costumes?"
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost like having child-sized statuettes.
You found an interesting use for your child slave labor, I'll say that much. All of a sudden I'm reminded of South Park, you know, "Go, child, rape a force!" We'll move into general media news. We'll talk about properties that are coming to multimedia that are not Marvel and DC related. I've mentioned before that I'm enjoying binge-watching things. One of those things is Stranger Things. It's an original show on Netflix. It's one of those concepts where somebody basically went through the trouble of making an original show that felt a lot like an 80s horror movie. It wasn't scary as much as it was somewhat campy, and it was a lot of fun, in my opinion. There was one cliffhanger at the end of the show, whether or not a character named Eleven was going to make it to any subsequent seasons. It was announced this week that the character of Eleven from Stranger Things will be in Season 2 of the show. In the first season, she was a young girl of about 12 years old, and she had developed telekinesis, telepathy, and massive energy projection due to her mother being experimented on with LSD while she was still in the womb.
Definitely sounds like 80s science logic.
It pretty much was. But it made a very interesting show. If you have a chance to check it out, it's a good popcorn muncher of a watch. You know, it has some really, really good child actors, and I don't say that very often. You know, not trying to denigrate kids, but kids often don't have the emotional experience to make great actors at a young age. It's an opinion of mine. These kids actually seem like pretty normal, geeky kids. To the point where in the 80s, they even started out making X-Men references and playing Dungeons & Dragons. You know, they're an impressive group of actors, and it had Winona Ryder as the mom of one of the characters, actually. So it's interesting to know she can still get work after trying to steal everything. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them comes out this coming November 18th, but that hasn't stopped Warner Brothers from already working on the sequel. Is it Warner Brothers or Universal? No, it's Universal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, I tripped all over that. Anyway, A recent casting has made a lot of news, and it seems to be polarizing fans of Harry Potter quite a bit. As we know, Eddie Redmayne will be coming back as Newt Scamander for the second film.
Mm-hmm.
However, Deadline broke the news that Johnny Depp is being cast for the sequel.
Ooh. As?
Unknown. They are not stating what role he's going to play. There's been speculation that if you're going to hire somebody like Johnny Depp, he's not going to cameo. You're going to ask him to do something significant.
They did for Into the Woods.
They did for Into the Woods, however, he keeps getting cast in Kevin Smith movies as co-stars in minor roles. He also had a minor cameo in 21 Jump Street, but then again, he was in the original series. I can't say that Johnny Depp makes me any more likely to watch the film, however, I do have to give him kudos on at least going out on a limb with the casting. Because if it's going to be a short cameo, it's going to be an expensive casting. If it's going to be a long, more substantial role, that's still going to be very expensive. You know, he may not have had a recent hit, but he's still high up when it comes to numbers of overall earners. Do you know anything about an ABC holiday special?
No. You'd have to be a little more specific.
Apparently it's coming out Thursday, November 24th. It's just one of those annual Wonderful World of Disney holiday specials on ABC. Used to be kind of a standard fare back when we were kids. I know that for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this one may actually get you to tune back in. Apparently it's going to be Thursday, November 24th, 8 Pacific, 7 Central. And it is going to have new footage from Star Wars Rogue One. This apparently is going to be their final push for advertising ahead of the release of Rogue One this coming December, as well as Disney trying to restart a tradition of holiday celebrations on TV every season. You know, it's not something I'm personally interested in, but I have short things running around my legs. This is probably the kind of thing that they could get behind.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I don't mean dogs and rabbits.
But you have those two.
Yeah, I have those two. Steve?
Mm-hmm.
If I had to pick one of the most unlikely things to get options for filmed, this would be it, and this is a comic both you and I have read with varying degrees of interest.
Okay.
A Rob Liefeld property has been picked up for a movie.
Okay.
Which one do you think it is?
XForce?
Wow, you're bad at this game. It's a Rob Liefeld property, not a Marvel property.
Oh. So, actual Image Comics, then?
Yes.
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun.
Trying to think of... I mean, he did, whatchamacallit?
This is the man responsible for Youngblood, Brigade, Battlestone.
It had blood in it.
Blindside, Bloodstrike.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Strike. Although I could be wrong.
What property?
Okay, let's go with Youngblood then. Why not?
No, Youngblood has not been optioned for a film, probably because they're working on that remake in the comics right now. No, this property came out in 1995 via Rob Liefeld's Maximum Press. The character's name is Evangeline.
Oh.
Which sounds an awful lot like a porn star's name, but it actually has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, she was an angel.
Yeah, she was a fallen angel who was trying to find redemption and find her way back into heaven. The description for the live-action version is supposed to be John Wick with a fallen angel. The screenwriter Akiva Goldsman is reportedly attached as a producer with an option towards directing. Liefeld apparently sold the film rights for Evangeline in the mid to high six figures range. There's no word on the involvement of the co-creator of the character, Kathy Christensen. Kathy Christensen, believe it or not, was a Vampirella model in the 1990s.
There are some similarities with that character.
Yeah, I would have to say, though, that the last couple times I saw the character back in the 90s, the wardrobe is going to need a serious upgrade to get to film. Because the wardrobe of this character was always, at best, minimal.
Yeah. No, it would be like saying, yeah, we're going to make a Bayonetta movie.
You know, if you tried to bring the character directly from the comics to film, I think a lot of people would look at that and go, hey, look, Stripperella's getting a movie.
Oh, look, it's another X-Men film.
Ooh.
Now, this was something I wasn't expecting this week. The first image of a toy for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers film has come out, and it is supposedly the fully formed Megazord from the movie that is upcoming soon. I took a good look at this, and I need help.
Yeah, I need help too when I saw it.
I sent the image for you guys to peruse, and I do see the design is keeping generally in line with the design of the suit so far. However, this Megazord makes the suits that they designed for the movie look damn good. Because I'm looking at this and I'm a little bit perplexed. I can see the colors where certain things fit together, but I don't quite get the overall concept here.
Yeah.
It is very much a hodgepodge, isn't it?
Yeah, and the things like right at his waist kind of look like somebody's gripping his thighs.
What about the feet? What is happening with the feet?
I think that might be
ease of balance.
Might be the leftovers of the Triceratops, considering the blue plating there.
Well,
maybe it reminds me of the claws from the second RoboCop. Like those toe claws it used to dig in. That's what that reminds me of. It has like Predaking-style wings. It has some kind of funky launcher on its off forearm. It looks like it has punching blades, too.
Yep.
I don't dig this design.
No.
I'm not really digging it either.
And I know some people say, well, you know, you just want what you saw back in the 90s. No, I don't even want that. I certainly want that.
Yeah.
And a redesign was pretty much granted when the property is over 20 years old. I guess I was looking for something a little more grounded than this take. This looks like you just ripped some stuff apart and took the plating and slapped it on a human. It looks like you slapped it on a Halo Spartan, really.
I'll be honest, it seems a bit more generic.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much removed all... I mean, I don't know if they're going to be dinosaurs again, but
they are.
There's no dinosaurs in that, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a standard 5 dinosaurs from the original series.
It doesn't have... Yeah, it seems like generic future giant robot.
You know what? Screw a sequel. I don't need to see what the Dragonzord looks like under these circumstances. I'm pretty close to pulling a ripcord on this.
Yeah, the art direction at least seems very
suspect.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, another property is apparently being kicked around for a potential live-action adaptation, and it has to do with a cartoon. And it doesn't even have to do with the original cartoon. Deadline is reporting that Universal Studios bought DreamWorks Animation for almost $4 billion earlier this year, and one of the projects it inherited was a live-action Voltron movie. It's part of the DreamWorks deal because DreamWorks were the ones that helped put together the recent Voltron Legendary Defender. So Universal has basically inherited the property and the success that came with the recent release on Netflix, which is also getting a second season, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as a result of the success of the series, Universal is now seriously considering the project and have apparently either looked into or have already looked to David Hayter to write it, who wrote Bryan Singer's X-Men and Zack Snyder's Watchmen. I'm not sure how to feel about that because both of those movies are not the greatest representations of their particular bases.
Yeah.
You know, do I think Voltron could work as a movie? Yeah, technology's come far enough that could actually be really impressive. Do I think that Universal should work on the project? kind of mixed on that, just because you've already got a pretty good cartoon going, and I don't know if you want to mess it up by making a movie that could be so-so or worse.
Yeah.
You might just want to let one play out before you worry about the other one. These are words I never expected to say. Atari is aiming for a television release.
They're still around?
What?
Yeah, the gaming company from the late 1970s and early 1980s is producing an unscripted reality-style game show called Game On. This is a show in which contestants will navigate through life-size sets based on games from Atari's library. Oh my god, it's Double Dare for adults!
Oh god, yes. Yes it is! I am totally hearing the music for Pitfall as they jump across the water.
The only way that could be worse is every time you jumped over a fake log, you hear... Atari is also apparently partnered with Discovery on a TV series based on its 1978 game Codebreaker. Atari also sold film rights earlier this year for both Missile Command and Centipede.
Right, I remember, I believe, talking about Missile Command, which we found kind of amusing.
Yeah, it is not exactly much of a mythos or story behind Missile Command. Stop yourself from getting nuked. That's the story.
Yeah. I kind of harken back to War Games.
Look, if you just... You know what? That's the perfect way to make Missile Command. All you do is you go to the original, 1980s War Games film, take out all the graphics that says War Games, put on Missile Command, done! It'd be the best movie they've made on it. Speaking of ridiculous stuff, though, the name of the next Tomb Raider game has been leaked.
Okay.
The game is going to be called Shadow of the Tomb Raider. You will not believe how this information was leaked.
Okay.
A Redditor named Triple H280 leaked the information because he was on a train in Montreal, on the subway, and he saw someone with an open laptop working on the script.
Oh, damn.
So he snapped a picture, posted it, and bam! Leak obtained. Square Enix so far has decided not to say anything about this as of yet, probably because they're looking at that going, what idiot was on a train with his laptop? According to Triple H280... I doubt it. According to Triple H280, he said, quote, "The page he was on talked about visuals. I'm from Montreal, QC. I was going downtown for work and I took a quick snap. I really would love to say more, but other than the title, the rest was blurry from where I was." Unquote. So, some people are saying, well, wait, Tomb Raider was made by Crystal Dynamics and they're in San Francisco. Well, the latest one, apparently titled Shadow of the Tomb Raider, has been taken over by Eidos Montreal, which is another part of the same company. Right. Crystal Dynamics was bought out, or Eidos was bought out by Crystal Dynamics not too long ago, and they've apparently handed the project over to their Montreal company. And if you think that's a bad idea, let me remind you that Eidos Montreal is also responsible for the games Thief and Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Didn't they do the original Tomb Raiders as well?
Eidos was originally responsible for Tomb Raider before they were bought out by Crystal Dynamics.
Okay.
However, Square Enix technically gets credit for the remake because if they didn't push Eidos and Crystal Dynamics after they were bought out by Square to actually put out the game, it probably never would have seen the light of day. At least that's my understanding of it. So, basically all this leads back to Cloud Strife, kicking butt way back in the 90s and created a video game, dynasty for about 15 years. Go figure, right?
Yeah.
One of the pieces of news that came out of BlizzCon is the Overwatch League.
What?
Overwatch League is going to be a professional gaming organization modeled after traditional sports organizations. They're going to compete with regional teams, baseline minimum salaries, and benefits. So, more or less, Blizzard is looking to create an NFL or NBA-style league for Overwatch esports. The teams are going to be based around major cities, fostering regional fan and player bases. Think of it as what happened to League of Legends, except players will actually get paid something more reasonable than $680 for winning a regional.
Yeah.
The idea of a salary is, okay, they're a lot better. The people in this league would be a lot better off than any other league.
Well, it's also something I've talked about when it came to World of Warcraft. I remember a long conversation we had where I argued that Blizzard really kind of missed an opportunity to create something major out of World of Warcraft like what League of Legends grew into. You know, they didn't commercialize it as well as Riot Games did with League of Legends. It looks like they're taking those steps with Overwatch.
Different format, and
there's a completely different genre.
Their PvP was not their main focus.
Yeah.
No, but you can make just about anything competitive given a little bit of structure. I mean, shoot, even players argue amongst themselves.
If you're willing to do the balance.
Yeah. Well, here we go. CEO and co-founder of Blizzard Entertainment, Mike Morhaime, he said, quote, "The Overwatch League represents not only the pinnacle of Overwatch competition, but also a genuine career opportunity for the most skilled Overwatch players. We're building a league that's accessible to players and fans, sustainable, and exciting for everyone involved," unquote. The inaugural Overwatch League season kicks off next year with a combine. Players who have distinguished themselves through play will be invited to join teams where they'll be paid and insured and do all the things that folks get to do when they play professional sports, except instead of trying to jump up and knock as many tabs as you can out of the way to show that you can really smack that ball down, you're going to sit in front of a screen and hit buttons as fast as you can. What do you think the 40-yard dash is going to look like?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like an interesting concept, but I'm not sure if it'll work.
It is a big bill that Blizzard's going to be putting out for.
Potentially, unless, of course, it's structured like the NFL, where Blizzard's just in charge of the league and the owners of the teams have to shell out those monies.
True. I'm also kind of curious as to how many cities and everything, how many starting teams there will be.
I guess my question would not be how many cities and starting teams. My question would be how many countries are involved.
That too. Because that's quite different from...
yeah.
Although, I don't know. They may or may not go with the country route because, you know, in professional games and whatnot, they are somewhat concerned with the ping.
They might just do a regional thing, and if a country's large enough, it will be divvied out.
I think they'll do an international thing just because at BlizzCon yesterday they had the World Overwatch Championships represented by different countries. And I think South Korea won.
Okay.
After beating the hell out of Russia. They even had third place, which I want to say was taken by Brazil. But I don't follow it terribly closely. Last up in general media news, I was kind of surprised by this particular announcement on anime. Okay. It's official that a new season of Cardcaptor Sakura is being made.
Really?
What?
Yes. The announcement came out in a recent magazine or a manga release that they are making a brand new season of Cardcaptor Sakura. There's no information revealed about the particular timeline, storyline, or what characters will be involved, or even if it will be adapted from any known manga storylines at all. It is likely that this was timed because the 20th anniversary of the show is upcoming soon. The only thing that gets me, though, is that Cardcaptor is one of those, I don't want to say generic, but kind of entry-level animes that's all ages accessible in general. It has some very strange familial relationships, depending on what season you tune into. But in general, it was a pretty well-liked and received show. I'm worried that anything made in the current era is that we're still going to get the obligatory bathing suit episode at some point.
Yeah.
That's turned to a staple of anime I do not like. You know, it's amazing how many excuses that they find just to have everybody in bathing suits for a good couple hours.
Party people, this is the Master of Games, Master Mario from the Cosplay Wrestling Federation. Word is Jeremy, Steve, and Jesse from the Rolling 20s will be all over Great American Comic-Con hosting panels with John Romita Jr., Joe Rubenstein, Bob Layton, and a whole lot of other special guests. Come see a great show December 3rd and 4th at the Cashman Center in Las Vegas. Great American Comic-Con. Where are you gonna be?
Okay, now we have Marvel comic news. That's where we talk about Marvel properties that will be coming to comic book pages with storylines in the near future. And there was a preview that was released this week for Civil War II #7 that made me ask some serious questions. Do you guys remember how Civil War II kicked off with the with the death of James Rhodes? He came down with a sudden case of Thanos.
Yeah.
Okay. Which has several side effects, including bludgeoning, terror, and death.
Usually permanent.
Usually, but something is going on in Civil War II number 7 that requires an explanation to me. Because it shows that Carol Danvers and her team, the pro-future crime enforcement division of Marvel, being attacked by what appears to be a Hercules-sized war machine. When I say Hercules-sized, I mean I can see War Machine's head. It looks like he's about halfway up to a Hulkbuster as far as body, whoever is in this thing. And it is coming with a vengeance. So I would really like to know the story as to who is in this armor, and I guess I want to know why, not necessarily why the upgrade, because the last person who wore this thing got his ass whooped upon by a cosmic being. You kind of figure it needs more something.
Yeah, just a bit.
So I really would like to know who's in the armor. The fact that it's attacking Captain Marvel implies that, no, it is not James Rhodes in this thing. Yeah. And as we know, death in comic books usually lasts as long as the copyright is about to run out. Then the character miraculously has a case of life.
And can you show us a picture?
Actually, I believe I can. I have to open the page real quick. But it wasn't an image that I was really expecting when I went through the preview, just based on the size and apparent ferocity of this thing. It is huge, and it may be damn near Hulk size, really.
It looks like the size of a Hulkbuster. Maybe a little smaller than that, but...
Whoever it is, it's got a serious anger issue with Carol Danvers right now.
Yeah.
So I have questions. I just have questions. Marvel has an event that we know is coming in early 2017, Monsters Unleashed, where several notable monsters across the Marvel Universe are going to go various levels of crazy and start attacking everybody post-Civil War II. There are apparently 6 new monster characters that will debut in Monsters Unleashed. Older monsters as well as Fing Fang Foom will also appear in the event. And longtime monster hunter Elsa Bloodstone, the former Next Waver and A-Force guest star, will appear in this. A recent announcement is that post-Monsters Unleashed, 2 new ongoing series are going to spin out of this event. There has been no indication as to what series these would be. All details are kept under wraps. However, the recent announcement of Elsa Bloodstone as part of the event makes me very curious. Some of the characters that apparently will take part in Monsters Unleashed will be Elsa Bloodstone, the Avengers, the Champions, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Moon Girl, and Riri Williams. And another series we found out that's coming out post-Civil War II is called Occupy Avengers. The only detail I had as of the announcement was that it has to do with Hawkeye, who is now famously the man who was acquitted of murdering Bruce Banner. Apparently, Occupy Avengers will have a very similar mission statement to the Champions, whereas they're working on protecting not just the world, but communities. However, Occupy Avengers has to do more with, it seems like, somehow crowdsourcing superheroes. It debuted this past Wednesday. It's a grassroots superhero book led by Hawkeye and another Marvel character known as Red Wolf. It's being compared to the A-Team, actually, and the Seven Samurai, because Occupy Avengers addresses the idea of blue-collar people in the Marvel Universe finding heroes to fight with them instead of for them. In other words, they're asking these heroes for help. Directly. What do you think of... I should add that this is being written by David F. Walker, who is also currently writing Power Man and Iron Fist, and the recently concluded Nighthawk series. What do you think of the ideas that Marvel's trying to pass around between Champions and Occupy Avengers of the different levels, potentially, of superheroics?
Well, I mean, that's actually kind of interesting. It kind of makes me think of that villain app that was going around too.
Hench?
Yeah. Or if it's going to be something like that, but for heroes.
You know, potentially. I do have questions how they would get around, because Red Wolf and Hawkeye are probably 2 of the most human characters when it comes to the current Marvel Universe. So the idea of them suddenly jet-setting to Los Angeles is not something that could happen very quickly. Granted, it's not like the A-Team got around very quickly in that Dodge van they kept riding around in. But it's kind of refreshing to see a take on everything that doesn't involve, well, we saved the world, somebody clean this crap up. Which a lot of the bigger adventures do kind of boil down to. I was kind of confused this week when it was revealed that R.L. Stine, the creator of Goosebumps, he revealed in Reddit that he's writing a comic book for Marvel.
What?
He wouldn't say. He said on Reddit, quote, "I'm writing a series of comic books for Marvel. My first comics ever, but I'm not allowed to talk about them yet," unquote. The first rule about Marvel Comics is you do not talk about Marvel Comics. I'm trying to figure out what R.L. Stine would do for Marvel. That's a curious hire. Stine's writing is not exactly appeal to me, but then again, he's usually writing horror books meant for somebody way below my age range. So I don't know what he has to offer necessarily, but somebody found something, I guess. Now, another comic that came out this past week was Avengers #1. This is the new Avengers book spinning out of Civil War II. The roster is being set. It's a 7-man roster right now, which includes the Red Wasp, Nadia Pym. And Red Wing is also listed as an official member because he's a vampire falcon that has sonic blasters attached to his wings somehow. However, that wasn't the main conceit of the story. A lot of the Avengers had to get together when they found out that Vision was in trouble. He was being attacked by Kang and the Scarlet Centurion. And the Scarlet Centurion, for those who don't know, is another version of Kang from the 1980s in Marvel Comics who travel forward in time. Now, why would these two characters be attacking Vision? Turns out Vision has gotten everybody in trouble and has kicked off what's being called Kang War 2.0.
Okay.
What do you think would piss off a time traveler so much that he would come for your head twice?
Messing with the timeline?
Doing something that shouldn't have been done? I don't know.
It gets deep.
Time travel is a very headache-inducing thing to try to figure out.
Well, it's actually simpler than you think, because Vision did travel through time himself. Obviously, it has something to do with why Kang's after him, right? Vision has stolen Kang.
Which?
Wait, what?
Vision has stolen Kang. He has stolen Kang the Conqueror. Vision has stolen Kang the Conqueror at 1 month old.
Ooh.
Oh!
So, and the Vision has apparently dumped his own core memory, so he doesn't remember where he left the infant, or with whom. That was his safeguard. He apologized to the Avengers for getting them involved in this, to which the Avengers basically said, "You're a butt, but now we have to deal with the situation." And one by one, they all got this curious chill crawling up their spine towards the end of the issue. It turns out that Kang and the Scarlet Centurion had an idea. You take mine.
Oh.
I'll take yours.
Yes, he just stole all the Avengers as infants. That was the end of the issue.
Wow.
And the last page of the issue had an interesting teaser of what supposedly is upcoming in the next year. It was almost a given between the two rosters that the Avengers and the Champions are going to come to blows over something, right? That was just inevitable. It also shows the Red Wasp and Sam Wilson at the grave of someone called Avenger X, which has so many connotations considering the X-Men are having a renaissance in the coming year, as we found out with 7 new series coming out. There was also an image of a future version of the Vision welcoming the Avengers to the end of time. And when I say future, he barely looks human. He looks like he has more in common with Ultron at this point. However, the image that probably is the easiest for us to understand, but a lot of people may not get it if they don't read the solicits, are the Avengers staring up at somebody in gray armor with a cloak telling them, from this day forward, you work for me.
Doom?
Yes. The infamous Iron Man, Dr. Doom, is telling them, you work for me. Boy, I'd love to see that meeting at HR. The Avengers look like it's going to be headed to some interesting places if the writing stays good. And as far as I understand, it's being written right now by Mark Waid. Mark Waid is the guy who wrote that Freaky Empire series for DC Comics back in the day.
Right. Okay.
We now have DC comic news. We talk about the other major company and their comic book storylines coming out in the near future. The latest issue of Green Lanterns, I want to say it was issue number 9, had a very interesting turn of events. If you remember from the Rebirth issue that we read, a Guardian had some kind of mysterious item in a box that appeared to just radiate all of the various emotional spectrum powers at once, right?
Right, yeah.
It knocked out that race that was following him. Turns out, we finally find out what that device is in the latest issue. It's called the Phantom Ring. It's dangerous for 2 reasons. One, yes, it does tap into the entirety of the emotional power spectrum DC has. All at once, potentially. Okay?
Yeah, okay, terrifying.
But the other fact that makes it dangerous is that it doesn't select a user. Remember, all the other ring cores have to be selected by their various power batteries and operating systems.
Right.
The Phantom Ring doesn't have an operating system.
It just, whoever puts it on gets it.
Precisely.
And
And
that seems a little dangerous.
And a new DC character has put it on. His name is Frank Leminski. He's a former test pilot who was once rescued by Hal Jordan himself, which made this man obsessed with becoming a Green Lantern. And we found out in his history that over the course of DC, apparently he saw a Green Lantern ring, which came, scanned him, and said, Frank Leminski, you do not have the ability to overcome great fear. You have not been chosen, and it flew away.
Oh.
Now he's gotten his hands on the Phantom Ring, and he calls himself the Phantom Lantern. He even created his own oath. In desperate day, in hopeless night, the Phantom Ring is our last light. We yearn for power, strength, and might. I seize the ring. That is my right.
Oh, boy.
And remember,
Damn.
this character just appeared with the Phantom Ring in the Green Lantern series, which means he is up against the 2 most inexperienced ring slingers of Earth.
Well, this guy's probably just as inexperienced with it, but he's got a lot of power behind that.
Well, that's the problem. He may be inexperienced, but this is also a guy that studied Green Lanterns for years at this point. He may understand what these rings can do better than Simon Boz and Jennifer Cruz do right now.
Right.
So, I would call that a problem, wouldn't you?
Yeah, a bit.
Okay. The artistic lineup for the December and January event, Justice League vs. Suicide Squad, has been announced. Jason Fabok was originally advertised to draw the entirety of it. However, it's recently been announced he'll only be doing issue 1. Tony Daniel will replace Fabok in issue 2. Jesus Marino will work on issue 3. Fernando Parison on issue 4. Robson Rocha on issue 5, and Howard Porter on issue 6. The publisher revealed a few uncolor pages by Fabok from the first issue recently. And this is the second change to the book. Earlier this month, DC informed retailers that the upcoming event title would have a price reduction from $4.99 per issue to $3.99 per issue, despite no change in the page count of each issue being 40 pages, not the standard 22.
Wow.
So it's the whole thing is still being written by Joshua Williamson. Sounds like DC's gone all in on this one. Are you curious to read what it looks like when the Justice League takes on the Suicide Squad?
Yeah, that does seem
yes
to be...
and no, surprisingly.
It still sounds horribly one-sided.
Yes, it does.
So, there's got to be some kind of equalizer here, because as much as I have a generalistic respect for the current members of Task Force X, half these guys were put away by the one member of the Justice League that has no powers of his own. So, there is that.
Yeah.
God, this was not something I expected to hear about this week. Batman number 10 had a round 2 of the Nightfall storyline.
Nightfall
was where Bane released everybody in Arkham Asylum, ruined Batman, and then broke his back.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
He did it again.
Oh.
And this time he didn't do it across his knee like, Andre the Giant. He put Batman on the ground face first, wrapped his arms around his neck, put his knee in the center of his back, and pulled back until he heard a satisfying crack and a pop.
Ooh.
He did it again. Then he tossed Batman in a cell, the same cell that Bane was kept in as a child, for him to just lament. It sounds very much like Dark Knight Rises all of a sudden, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, this was fixed in a similar way, because apparently instead of just being in painful agony the whole time and being unable to use his legs in general, Batman uses armored gauntlets to punch into the wall to create a couple of grips for himself with his hands, then somehow walked himself. He put his hands in these grips, shoved them in nice and tight so he couldn't, yank them out immediately. Then he somehow walked his knees up the wall to the point where he was upside down with his fist still stuck in the wall until his back popped back into shape somehow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's almost as unlikely as what Christopher Nolan put in. At least Christopher Nolan had the old guy with the rope. I sent you guys the image of what it looks like when he put his back into shape, and you'll understand why I had some trouble describing it.
Wow, they are really reaching.
I don't know. I think Tom King is still writing Batman, and I could see him writing in where Batman repairs his back and all that stuff. I don't know if he would be specifically responsible for this particular motion or if it's art direction or the artist. It's a big stretch.
And pun intended.
Well, at the same time, Batman also called in the cavalry to get him out of there, which apparently came in the form of Catwoman.
So he called local cavalry.
Yeah, well, if it's the same prison that Bane was stuck in, wouldn't that put it in some weird fictional country or something?
Santa Prisca, yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. At the end of the issue, Batman tells Catwoman, now we break his damn back. Which, so far Bane is 2 for 2. I don't know if you want to give him another shot at this. You are not the Cubs, sir.
No, after Nightfall, he did beat the living crap out of him afterwards.
Yeah, but he still got his back broken again after all this time.
I think he broke Bane's back, too.
So far, I'd say Bane has done the better job.
Yes, no, I totally agree with that.
Well, Justice League number 8 leads to more trouble for Batman in a different storyline. All it is a preview. However, it's a storyline that, while is feasible in the real world, it makes you wonder how good his Norton antivirus is. The Batcave has been hacked.
Okay.
Someone in issue 8, which is an upcoming issue for November 2nd, actually this past week, sorry, someone has hacked into the Justice League computers, causing the Batcave's weapons and security systems to turn on Batman while the Watchtower plummets to Earth, with Cyborg still on board.
And Cyborg can't counter-hack it?
I don't know. I didn't read the issue. It's just one of those cases where, like I said, with modern technology, I believe the more that we're interconnected in the world, yes, the more likely people will find private networks and jump into them. However, you're supposed to be Batman. This should not be possible, technically. Bet you really wish Tim Drake was still around now, don't you?
Yeah, just a bit. But he got blown to hell and revived somewhere else.
Last up, some of the co-starring cast of the recent Blue Beetle Rebirth issues, as well as the Legends of Tomorrow anthology series. Sugar and Spike are getting their own series upcoming soon. They were originally... Sugar and Spike. They're joining the... I'm sorry, they're going from Legends of Tomorrow to the Blue Beetle Rebirth issues. Sugar and Spike were originally created by Sheldon Mayer. He was a cartoonist. He created a comic series of their adventures during a run that extended from 1956 to 1971. Now they've been reimagined by Keith Geffen to being older but still being best friends and a duo that teams up as detectives to help superheroes who are being blackmailed or bothered about some of their more embarrassing moments from their past. Think of them as the people you call in when you don't have time to clean up your own messes. So, according to Keith Geffen, quote, in other words, if Green Lantern has a problem that he really doesn't want to hit the press, like, I used to fly around with a little thing called my itty on my shoulder, he calls Sugar and Spike to handle the potential blackmail. Or somebody stole all of Batman's rainbow suits he used to wear, and it's kind of embarrassing if it becomes public knowledge, unquote. they're discreet is basically what you're looking for.
This could be quite amusing if done properly.
This sounds like it would have made a better TV show than that insurance company show that has not gone well for Warner Brothers recently. This sounds like it'd be much funnier.
Yeah.
You're trying to hunt down Dick Grayson's old scaly Speedos before anybody finds out he actually wore these things. Now we have a little bit of general comic and convention news. This is where we talk about comic books that are not Marvel and DC related, as well as convention news from all around the world. I need to start, unfortunately, with a bit of sad news. And this could have been DC comic news, except this is an artist who has a very personal problem. His name is Oliver Nome. He's also known as Ollie. He's best known for his work on Flashpoint, Kid Flash Lost, and various Aspen Comics projects. He's recently been battling glioblastoma multiforme, or GBM. You know what that is?
Yeah, it's the blood... damn it. Okay, my brain's fried. Just go ahead and say it.
It's a cancer of the blood cells, basically.
Right, yeah, okay.
And for Ollie Nome, it's stage 4, which means it's end stage. There is not much more to be done than to make the man comfortable. He's been battling this since his diagnosis back in May of 2012. He posted a recent statement, and it was reposted on Newsarama with permission from Mr. Nome himself. Quote, "Health update. Hello, friends. I'm so sorry, but I've got bad news. As of this past Thursday, I started home hospice care. My tumor has grown quite a lot after the last disastrous craniotomy, which almost killed me and left me crippled on the left side. I made the decision not to go through with another awake surgery, which is hell and does hurt like hell, from the 9 different shots of painkillers throughout my face, skull, and worse, back of head, neck/spine, and the super painful recovery. I just can't do it again. My life is art and drawing, friends and family first, and I'm unable to do art at all. I had my mind set on death with dignity, but I don't like the fact of knowing the date and time of my death. Until I pass, I'll be constantly with my closest friends, and when my mom returns next week, she'll bring my estranged sister, who I've forgiven a long time ago, just too stubborn to see or talk to. Please know I'll last surrounded by my closest friends and family. Now I'm crying. Please know I've had a very comfortable life, and the greatest part is my amazing friends, family, and fans. I love you all so much. Big thank you to my family members, Julie Massa, Michael Escobedo, Ale Garza, Elizabeth Garza, Carlos Deanda, Andres von Lovenballs, Sebastian Skinner, and Dustin Stahl for taking care of me. Taking man's being with me for countless doctor appointments, MRIs, etc. I've said before, my biggest blessing in my life are my loved ones. I cry for my loved ones, not myself. I'm not scared. I just want everyone to be okay and thrive. I'll give one of my best buds, Ale Garza, all my remaining art and want half the sales to go to his and Liz's baby boy, Little Gus, and the rest to CBLDF and to a veterans fund. I'll be cremated with half my ashes sprinkled out at Sunset Cliffs, and the rest my mom will take to Korea. Hopefully I can hold on long enough for Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I'll definitely be seeing Doctor Strange this week. This isn't my last post, just had to share the bad news. Love you all, and we'll speak soon." Unquote.
Wow.
So he did enter home hospice care this week. I don't know of any crowdfunding to handle his, I guess you could say, last day's care. But that's sad. I don't know how old he is, but the last known picture I've got here must be after he was diagnosed. There's a bandage and some kind of... It almost looks like he has an infection around his lips. So I can't imagine that this was taken before his diagnosis. And if I had to guess, I would say that the man is probably not any older than 40. I sent you guys the image to take a look at. His vision doesn't look good based on the refraction of those glasses, but that could also be a side effect of his cancer.
Yeah, I'd say, about there. 30s to 40s.
Yeah. He's a young man to suffer that much. On to happier news. The third wave of guests for WonderCon at 2017 in Anaheim has been announced. And they definitely have some heavyweights now announced for this show. Larry Dixon, the author and artist of Valdemar and Serrated Edge. The author of Hunter, Valdemar, and Elemental Masters, Mercedes Lackey. The writer of Jughead, Howard the Duck, Star-Lord, and the artist on Sex Criminals, Chip Zdarsky. And the artist on the Suicide Squad and DC Entertainment co-publisher, Jim Lee.
Wow.
For a mid-sized convention, that's a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah.
I don't have the particular dates for WonderCon, but I do recall it's happening at the end of March. Sounds like it's going to be a good show. Are either of you guys fans of Penny Dreadful?
No.
Penny Dreadful was a show that recently ended on Showtime. Turns out that the TV series co-executive producer Chris King and illustrator Jesus Hervas will not allow the show to die. Penny Dreadful is being brought back to life in early 2017 as a comic book under license by CBS Consumer Products. It's going to be a new series that continues the story directly after the Season 3 TV finale. And this is a BAFTA award-winning show, so it's not exactly lightly taken.
Right.
It was originally created, written, and executive produced by a 3-time Oscar nominee named John Logan, who was on Hugo, Gladiator, Skyfall, and Spectre. Penny Dreadful features characters from Victorian Gothic literature and a host of brand new characters, including Vanessa Ives, Sir Malcolm Murray, Frankenstein's monster, Sembene, and Mina Harker. You know, I have not watched an episode because I never really got past the title and nobody's explained anything to me. Now that I know a little bit, kind of want to watch this. I like literary figures, what can I say? And last up was news that came out last weekend, but it's not one that we mentioned in our prior show, is that it's a crossover that makes a ton of sense, except when you actually try to conceptualize it, because Star Trek The Next Generation is getting a comic book crossover with the Aliens franchise.
That's...
This is a new miniseries from IDW, and the title of it is Acceptable Losses.
Oh, damn.
Scheduled to debut April 2017, the writers are Scott and David Tipton. The artist will be J.K. Woodward. They are the trio behind 2012's Star Trek The Next Generation and Doctor Who crossover Assimilation 2. Which sounds like the Cybermen and the Borg teamed up. I would be horrified if there was a scene where Data is spewing milk as he's impaled. You know, let alone if Picard tells Wesley shut up in the middle of this issue, that's going to be meaningful.
I don't know. I think Star Trek is a little more technologically advanced than humanity normally is in the Aliens series, so...
Maybe, but in those leotards, they won't be able to get away fast enough.
No.
Now we have our WTF Corner. That's where we talk about the stories from across the internet that make you stand up and wonder, why are we made to suffer like this? But then you look at the 2016 election and go, right. First up, we have video game videos. That's where we talk about incredible plays, unbelievable falls, and the kind of things that it make you wish you really had that chainsaw from Gears of War 4 for a couple minutes. First up, how about a little Overwatch?
No,
sure.
There's 2 videos from Overwatch this week. The first one came from the channel of user Nick Walker. Nick Walker. That sounds like a heavy metal song in the making, doesn't it? But this video is titled Sleep Dark Cliff Dive.
Oh, dear. Okay.
It's short, but it's cruel. I sent the video. You play as Anna. You're chasing. Sleep dart off the side.
Oh!
Poor player was going for a wall jump, but that definitely wasn't happening now.
Not in the cards.
No, that was a cruel turn of fate. But if you want to call it precision and a play, that's what that was.
Yeah.
And the Overwatch video, it's a Roadhog video.
Okay.
Wait till you see how this one worked, because it's a Roadhog versus Roadhog video. This came from the channel of user These Guys. I said that correctly. These Guys. TheseGuys. The title of this video is Yes! No! Yes! No!
Oh.
I'm not making it up. I sent the video. There you are with Roadhog, using your ultimate, and he's trying to hook you off the side! Oh my god, back off, back off! Oh, I got out! And I fell!
Oh!
Just when you think you got away clean.
That sucks.
It does. The next video is a Battlefield 1 video. That is the World War I FPS shooter, known for big multiplayer and some very strange physics issues.
And apparently it's sexist.
Yeah.
Well, it was World War I. Everything was sexist way back when.
Yeah.
But this came from the channel of user Chris Cowan. First word Chris, C-H-R-A-S. Second word C-O-W-A-N. The title for this video was kind of telling, but wait till you see the footage. He titled this video, "Dude Saved My Ass!"
Okay.
I sent the video.
PlayStation.
Get a fancy old intro. And here is the video. Here he is running up this trench. He's got a machine gun of some sort. Look, somebody's charging with a bayonet. And somebody stabbed him in the back.
Wow.
Just when you thought that bayonet was coming for your neck, nope, that's someone else's. Isn't that amazing? It looked like he came out of nowhere, too.
Yeah.
How'd you do it? Worse.
You know, are you okay? Yeah. I need to go requisition some underwear. I'll be right back. I have another Battlefield 1 video, and this one is of a completely different nature. This came from the channel of user Zinged. Z-Z-I-N-G-E-D. Zinged! He titled this video, "Three-Way Waltz."
Okay.
I know. So many images of what this could be. It's not like anything you're thinking of. I sent the video. So they are in a plane doing a 90-degree bank. Nice music. Look, here's one of your other planes coming straight at you, and you lock wings. And you're pushing each other, and hey, help me! Nope, another one. Crash, and you're all on the ground.
No.
Boom. Wow, I made it. Oh my god, there's a pilot. Gotta stop him. And I got stopped.
Well, he wins.
Yep, that is the most brutal Dancing with the Stars I've ever seen. Next video is from a new game that's just come out recently, Gears of War 4. This video came from the channel of user Shendemoni. That sounds like a new ice cream, Shendemoni. Or Count to Money. But the title of this video is Scion Sith Lord Uses the Force.
Okay.
Any guesses? Never mind. I sent the video. So you gunned down something there. That was loud.
Alright.
And you will just get your butt beat. So now you're in this multiplayer game screaming, "Revive me!"
Come on, revive me!
Which is not helpful, right?
Yep.
And he's crawling quite a way, though.
And his
got back to his weapon.
friend just got downed.
And the Scion just says, "You know what? Stop complaining. Get over here." And pops your head.
Oh, wow.
I love the fact that the Scion reaches to the ground and you decide to slide the 20 yards to put your neck in his hand. That is a strange physics issue. Okay, the next video is a video from a game we haven't heard from in a little while, Fallout 4.
Okay. Bethesda has some of the most awesome glitches.
Yeah, it's hard to know whether or not to call this a glitch or whether or not someone's being stupid. You'll understand in a minute. This came from the channel of user C-Cole96, C_COLE space 96. He titled his video, "Fallout 4 Played Me."
Huh.
Yeah, I know. I sent the video. There you are. You're fighting against something stealth. You can see it there, right?
Yeah.
It keeps attacking every now and again. And then it just stops. And it stands there. Well, this seems broken. And, so, okay, we'll get out. Out of the power armor. Still doesn't look right. And out of nowhere, it attacks and kills you!
Oh!
Damn thing played possum!
Ah!
Always check the bodies before you walk on. Yeah. Now, the next video is from an older game, but something very hilarious happened, and it's not a bug. I love playing Sleeping Dogs. I really enjoy the game. It was originally supposed to be a continuation of the True Crime series before the company that was making it was bought out, and somebody else put it out under a different title. You know what Sleeping Dogs is, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen you play that.
Okay, it's kind of a sandbox crime story in Hong Kong, Steve.
Oh, okay.
So, to me, it's a lot of fun. But an interesting video came out from the channel of Soulless Lucas. Yes, I did pronounce that correctly. Soulless Lucas. He must be redheaded. He titled his video, Sleeping Dogs Killer Lamp.
Huh.
I sent the video. Yeah, I sent the video. So your character reloads the gun, you run forward, somebody's attacking from that window. You see what he just did?
What the hell?
Got himself with his own...
Yeah, we'll replay it just so you can take a look, but oh my god, okay? Reload, you charge forward, somebody comes out from behind, takes one shot, shoots the lamp, and it hits him in the skull.
And takes himself out.
Yes, he did.
Huh. Some interesting physics going on there. Very slow-moving bullets.
Like I said, it's not a bug, but you apparently hit that lamp with enough force that it came back and said, screw you, I work for Pixar, smack. Now, I know that this next one is a horror game, but something truly horrific happened in it. The game is Dying Light. It's one of those survival horror, almost zombie-esque titles, right?
Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, it gets weird, and that's the best I can say. This came from the channel of user The Black Soul 8. And he titled his... I'm sorry?
Edgy.
A bit. The title of his video is Dying Light 2016-022-0052-458. And I will say ahead of time that whoever is taking the video is speaking in Arabic, so you're not going to understand what he says, but thankfully it's not going to be important. I sent the video. So there you see a corpse, and its head is backwards, which is not good, right?
Yeah.
You get close in, take a good look, and now it's facing you!
Whoa!
Unfortunately, Grandpa down there said, stop poking me! You can hear that poor guy shattering away in Arabic, basically going, dude, not again. No way, I'm not going near it. That is one of those things that makes you stop and hit pause on the game and go, okay, now I need to change my drawers. And the last video I have is an EA UFC 2 video. And just by using this, you pretty much are guaranteed that something unusual happened, right? Well, this came from the channel of user Hermosa Beach Joe, which sounds like an independent wrestler. He titled his video, WTF, Strange Knockout in EA UFC 2. I watched the video and, wow, Cirque du Soleil. I sent the video. Ooh, looks like punching the balls, and behind the back punch!
Whoa.
The hell?
I don't even think
here it is from the opposite direction. Behind the back punch and knockout.
I guess that's possible.
That's definitely an anime move you just saw right there. Reverse spine scoliosis!
Yeah, that looked like it hurt.
Hurt who?
Yes, both of them.
Because that's when the ref stops the fight, not because he knocked anybody out. That's just because he wants to say, do that again.
Do it again.
Do that thing you did again.
I'm pretty sure you could only do that if your shoulder was, like, disconnected or something.
It's like the Tony Stark, like, red laser. I can only do that once. Alright, now further on in WTF, it seems like the Japanese land in here more often than they ought to. But there's some unusual things that happen in that country that perplex at least me personally, as a person that selects the stories for the show. And recently, the Japanese have decided to put up an ad for women on trains. Which doesn't sound like a bad thing.
But
the video they put up basically states that the Japanese government, at the very least, is very tired of women putting on makeup on public trains. They actually have an ad campaign that more or less says, stop tarting yourself up on our trains.
Okay.
I mean, I get that watching women put on makeup is not the most entertaining thing to do, but as long as they're not leaving gobs of lipstick and mascara everywhere, turn your head away.
Yeah, I have no idea what makes about as much sense to me as the whole anti-breastfeeding in public thing. It's whatever.
Yeah, this video came out from Tokyu Core, Tokyu, And apparently they've made other videos that have to do with less controversial topics, like using a smartphone near a train platform, darting past a queue to board a train, or carrying a large bag while on a crowded train. In other words, they're basically the ones running the trains, and they deal with those minor inconveniences that people, I guess, would occasionally send into an online questionnaire, which, in the overall sense of things, are not very frackin' important. So, why you need to create an entire video, spend the money to create a PSA that says stop putting on makeup on trains? Yeah, that's not going to help.
No.
Another story that came out of Japan, which was equally strange, but for a much more valid reason. There was a recent incident at Tokyo Medical University, okay? In the middle of surgery, a fire occurred, mid-surgery, which is not something you want to hear in general.
No.
So, this happened back in April. There has been an investigation, and the report was released on October 28th. And the cause of the fire was a fart.
Okay.
The hospital sent the situation to an outside committee who investigated and determined that there were no flammable materials in operation in the room during the surgery. The patient was a woman in her 30s who was getting an operation at Tokyo Medical University Hospital in Shinjuku. It involved a laser to perform surgery, and according to the hospital report, quote, when the patient's intestinal gas leaked into the space of the operation room, it ignited with the irradiation of the laser, and the burning spread, eventually reaching the surgical drape and causing the fire, unquote. So, yes, you can light your farts on fire via laser.
Good to know.
I mean, could you imagine what it's like to be a doctor, suddenly have this cloud of flame erupt from a patient, the drapes are on fire, and your nurse looks at you and says, you smell that? This is also a good reason why you should listen to your doctor when they tell you before a surgery, stop eating! Now, this past weekend was Halloween, which is a big deal in the U.S., as I'm sure it is in a number of countries around the world. However, there are certain times where people should not be allowed to celebrate Halloween. Have you seen what Khloe Kardashian dressed up as?
No.
Okay, and I don't like the Kardashians. I've made that clear over the history of the show. I think they're a family that's famous for absolutely nothing. I think they're talentless. Scratch that. They're a family that's famous because one of them was caught on tape having sex with a quasi-celebrity. That's what they're famous for. If they deny it, check their history. They weren't known for much before one of them did this. And I'll let you guess which one. That's none of my concern. But the middle sister of the older Kardashian sister decided to dress up as Storm from the X-Men.
Okay.
Which is a costume...
Yes.
You know, Storm's costumes, for the most part, are not very ornate. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. I mean, the weird cape thing is kind of the most it gets.
In general, there are some costumes that are more complicated, but in general, Storm dresses in one, maybe two colors, white hair. It's usually pretty easy to pick up. Therefore, I would like you to tell me what in the blue hell Khloe Kardashian was thinking when she dressed up like this to portray Storm. The white hair is appropriate.
Face paint?
I don't know what's up with that silver forehead, man. The contacts I can let slide. The black mascara, okay, I get it. The white hair, fine. The silver forehead is throwing me completely. Maybe she feels her head is a little too large. Then when you scroll down and take a look at the full image, I don't recognize this outfit. X-Men is my favorite fandom in comic books. I have read way too many X-Men comics. Not all of them, but a great deal of them. And I have never seen this particular look on Storm, which is somewhere between Latex Queen and trashy fashion. Actually,
honestly,
it looks like...
if I ran into her on the street, I would not think, oh, you're Storm.
It looks more like Storm... If you had to describe this in fandom terms, it looks like Storm mugged Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I guess.
It looks like a porno parody to me.
I would honestly sit there and be like, okay, what rock star are you dressed up as?
Jesse, I'd say you're correct, except I've seen the porno parodies. They have better production values than this.
Ouch!
So, you know what? If you're going to do this stuff, read a damn book. Because This frustrates me as a fan. This frustrates me as a human being. And I would really like all these people to have their cell phones smashed, except they just buy 3 more for every one they lose. It's like frickin' hydras. Now, there is a plant that's recently been developed that can detect landmines.
Really?
Yeah, researchers at MIT have found a way to use spinach to detect explosive materials in the soil.
Huh.
Believe it or not, they made bionic spinach, which means Popeye is going to be a real thing pretty soon. Spinach plants are upgraded with nanoparticles to give them some unique capabilities. It's a burgeoning field of study because the technology is just kind of hitting a more wide platform. As you can understand, it's new. What they do is spinach plants are embedded with carbon nanotubes that emit a distinct fluorescent when explosive chemicals are present in the ground. In other words, you have spinach that will change colors in moderate degrees when they detect explosives seeping into the soil. So that means in areas like where IEDs and landmines are very prevalent, instead of having someone sweep the ground for mines, which is a long, tedious, and dangerous process, that means in the area you could plant these spinach leaves, and after a few days they would be able to change colors depending on whether or not there's actual explosives in the ground.
Could this be actually applied in other areas that doesn't, in airports and bus terminals?
Well, the problem is that being a plant, again, it's not an immediate process, so that means that what would you do? Would you have somebody that's boarding a plane stick their hands in the potted plants for a couple days before they get on?
Right, okay.
You know, it's not saying it couldn't eventually be adapted to a quicker form process, or the nanotechnology couldn't be applied to like magnetic wands or anything, but they found one of those ways to make things safer. I mean, if you think about it, minesweeping involves a team that would be out in a particular area probably for at least a few days to do it correctly, which means they could be monitored and potentially killed as a sweat for mines. Instead, what if all it took was one like Humvee rolling into an area where suspected landmines are, stopping for just long enough to plant a few spinach plants and then driving away to come back and check on those plants at another time? They wouldn't be stuck in that area for a serious amount of time.
How far is the detection radius? Because
that'll be the thing.
Well, deciphering what the plants find does require some additional equipment. Laser light is directed towards the plant's leaves, which gets reflected by the embedded microscopic nanotubes. But those reflections aren't visible to the naked eye. You need an infrared camera to detect it.
There's still a lot involved with this process.
It is, and I don't think they want to be terribly specific as of yet since it's relatively new, and this is the type of technology you can't reveal everything right away.
No.
The more secrets you keep, the more effective it's going to be.
And that, I think they're still playing around with variables, I guess.
At least it's not something as obvious as, hey, what's with that pink plant that appeared? You do need some deciphering gear to make it work. This is an interesting use for technology. And imagine what that could do for, in the case of places like, I don't know, maybe Western Europe and the U.S., where attacks can be planned but not terribly sudden. That means you could actually plant something that could at least tell you if there's been any explosives in the area for the last couple days, I would guess.
I'm suddenly reminded of that detection device they had in Men in Black.
Maybe, except not as cheesy.
Yeah.
Next up in WTF news, there have been some players banned from Overwatch in China. However, the story isn't necessarily about their banning. It's because of the game handles that these particular players used. And these are all banned players from China.
Oh.
Some of their names include, and these are all in Chinese characters, so it's not something that's terribly obvious to English speakers like you and me. Some of the banned names include, "The world could always use more butts." Or "I got aimbot and wallcack and will crush y'all from CN server." Or "Dare to leave or I will pull your penis."
What?
The name he chose to play on Overwatch is "Dare to leave or I will pull your penis." Another person named themselves Miniature Bra. Yeah, I'll let you figure that out.
Yeah.
Another name from a banned Overwatch player from China, ugly guy with thick lip and smelly feet. Well, that's honest.
Okay, they have some weird fetishes over there.
There is another player known as Fish that loves eating cat.
Huh.
That could be taken so many ways.
Yeah.
And the last one on this list from a Kotaku story, a Chinese player called himself "Call Me the God of Bitches." Wow. Suddenly I'm very glad for the censorship that some American companies put on their servers. Do you want some out-of-context D&D before we get into the vision?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, we get our quotes from outofcontextdndquotes.tumblr.com. That's where they put up quotes from role-playing games that, when taken out of context, can be a lot of fun. The first quote is one rogue talking to another rogue. I paid someone to kill us. Why? So we could fight them?
Okay.
That does sound like a couple rogues. The next
Gotta
quote...
get those fat loots and XPs.
The next quote came from a dungeon master who must have been tired of talking. You should all have your own goals in mind, like fucking a dragon.
Okay. I was unaware that was an option. Is that an option, Jesse?
In the games I personally ran, no.
I mean, if it is, just let me know, because I'll totally bring my summoner in on it. But
you know, if I ever restart my Modern D20 campaign, maybe y'all could have some fun in a Chinatown massage parlor. I'll have to think about that. The next quote came from Amegas.
Okay.
How many humans would be a barking dog? Wow, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
The next quote is another rogue who was talking to a pugilist. He's fine, but he died.
Okay. That seems a little counterintuitive.
A bit. The next quote doesn't have anyone credited with it, but it sounds like it could apply to a lot of games and a lot of game players. I am one with the sofa.
Yeah, that could just be a player.
The next quote is also uncredited, and I would love to know the story as well as the setting of this game. I didn't want to marry a wolf. The bell made me.
Okay.
Huh.
The next quote is a cleric during a rest period. I attune to the bone. I don't know if that meant he attuned to a bone. I don't know if he was tuning a bone. I seriously don't know if he was attuned to the bone.
Whatever this bone was, it was definitely magical.
Phylactery or something.
I just like the idea of being attuned to the bone. It sounds like 80s metal. The next quote, it doesn't matter that he's a goblin. He's my son now.
They kind of make
those diplomacy checks.
That one sneaks up on you, doesn't it? The following quote is also uncredited. Is the gecko a rogue?
Uh-huh.
That would make him the sneakiest rogue ever. And the last quote... the last quote was a DM who must have been tired. It's only 5 words. You see the letter yellow. Wow.
Did everything say purple for a second?
I know, that's when you turn to your cleric and say, we need 10 cc's of Mountain Dew, stat.
I think he's already seeing enough yellow, man.
The subject of the week is The Vision, issues 7 through 12. We read the first half of this, I would be pretty sure, about 6 months ago.
Actually, we only read the first 4 chapters, so that was a little confusing.
The first 4? I swear we read more than that.
I have a folder on my desktop that has what we read previously, and it was one before.
We actually had to have read the first 6 because we talked about the 6th issue, which is where Agatha Harkness had her future vision.
I don't remember reading that.
Yeah, I remember her going through the whole
may have
killing the cat thing,
but I don't remember her ever reading it.
Issues 7 through 12 pick up not long after the Avengers become aware of a prophecy where the Vision is going to kill them all and destroy the world. It was a vision relayed to them by either, I'm going to guess, the ghost of Agatha Harkness, considering she's been dead since the Avengers disassembled. She was killed by the Scarlet Witch during her reality warping days. And things did not get better for the Vision family from the first half of the story. The 7th issue had to do with I guess you could say, the history of how his family came to be, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the decisions that led him there. It was no secret by this time that his wife, Virginia, was based on the Scarlet Witch's mind. However, the fact that it was an erstwhile gift from Wanda after their marriage had pretty much ended was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't expect something that buggy to be a gift.
Yeah.
Because Virginia has not worked very well since the inception of this series. She's hidden all kinds of things from the Vision, including, murder and battery and a whole bunch of stuff in between.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that the 7th issue was kind of touching. I never really had much of a concept as to the type of relationship the Vision and Scarlet Witch had during their romantic years. Early on in page 6, when they were ignoring Count Nefaria and the Avengers getting their ass whooped while they made out behind a tree.
That was strangely amusing.
Yeah.
It was amusing, but it worried me a bit, because it's not like they were doing terribly well at the moment.
So, yeah, we're a little busy here. Can we get some help?
They had Thor. There wasn't any real difficulties there.
But the minor scenes that occurred through the issue, a family meeting after Vision and Scarlet Witch got married that involved Quicksilver, Agatha Harkness, and Wonder Man, that was interesting. The Vision learning about the possibilities of the Wundagore plant while he was helping the Scarlet Witch with a necklace. It was kind of disturbing to see the exact moment where the Vision starts to doubt that they really need to keep the 2 children that Wanda conjured way back in the 80s. And I actually kind of felt bad for him when he didn't understand that she wasn't listening, not that she couldn't hear him.
Right.
He didn't get the context of the difference, so he upped the volume of himself so she could hear him. And then afterwards, during the Vision's white period, where he was reborn with a new operating system and basically told his family, I'm not the guy you love.
And you mean nothing to me.
I know. Then the period just after the Scarlet Witch actually lost the kids, and the Vision is consoling in his mechanical way, which was not very helpful.
No, she didn't look quite all there anyway.
No, and her memory was wiped at that period, which was the conceit of Avengers Disassembled. And then that last bit, which had to be in the more modern era, like the Uncanny Avengers Volume 1, when Scarlet Witch and Wonder Man were actually in love. Especially, I would imagine this would have to be more modern simply because she gave him that gem, and I would like to think he would have used it well before now if he actually had it. And then at the end, when he tries to tell Virginia the same joke that he told Wanda, and he had no reaction from it.
Yeah.
That was sad. That was just terribly, terribly sad.
This book is so awkward, but yeah, it does a really good job of portraying just how dysfunctional this family was.
Oh, I don't think that could have been shown any better than at the beginning of issue 8 when when Viv is staring in the mirror, brushing her hair, and replaying the one file she has of the boy that had a crush on her before he died.
Yeah.
Vin, the other twin, is practicing Shakespeare like all the time and just absent-mindedly throwing a ball out the window for his dog to catch. That dog's name is Sparky, by the way.
Yes.
Virginia sitting at the piano for the umpteenth time playing Row, Row, Row Your Boat.
and constantly repeating words.
Well, she's only repeating merrily, which is part of the song. She's actually functioning well at this point. Because she is singing the song properly, after all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I was thinking there was only 3 Merrilies, but I guess there's 4.
And then the Vision, who is absent-mindedly talking to Nova about restarting the Quinjet while he clears the snow from the sidewalk with his solar beam. Which has got to be one of those. Yeah, it's got to be one of those moments where you just stare out the window and go, God damn it, I have to move.
I'd be like, hey, neighbor, mind getting mine too?
But this issue also had to do with the introduction to the series of the Vision's, I guess you could say, half-brother.
Yeah, I was unfamiliar with this character because I haven't really ever read anything that he would have been in, but yeah.
I did because his first appearance was in the first regular series issues of the Runaways, and I was big into that series. He was created via Ultron and a human woman who worked with Ultron to create a son for herself, but at the same time, Ultron used this creation to make a Trojan horse. During his first appearance, there was one of those flash forwards to the future, and Victor Mancha, the character we're talking about, had become a supervillain called Victorious, and he had decimated both the Avengers, which were being led by Sister Grimm, Nico Minoru, and the X-Men, who were being led by Armor, to the point where Sister Grimm and Armor were the only ones left. If that tells you anything about his powers. And Victor has control over magnetic fields, which I'm not saying is going to be on the same level as Magneto, but considering he's an Ultron-created, bionic robot, for lack of a better term, still going to be a pretty strong field. Yes. Yeah. And last time Vision and Victor saw each other, they were on a team of Avengers that were dealing specifically with threats from artificial intelligence.
Right, the Avengers AI.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The scenes of Victor trying to stay with the family during the semester where he had an internship were actually kind of touching.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting that they went out to a restaurant and ordered nothing, but they still ordered food and agreed to pay for it. They just didn't want it brought to the table. I guess it was their attempt at just awkward normalcy, which is still kind of hard to comprehend when they're coming home and there's a floating mailbox outside the house.
Oh, I thought that I didn't consider that to be a mailbox. I thought that did the dog just transform into something else?
No, that's their mailbox. It just floats.
Yep.
But the conversations he has with each one, it looks like Victor is trying to do a pretty diligent job of meeting and relating to each family member in turn. Mm-hmm. And he has some pretty good conversations with all of them. Well, actually, he didn't talk too much with Viv, who insisted on seeing the grave of CK, the boy who liked her and died, up close and personal. She actually phased into his coffin and took a look, which was something she instantly regretted. Yes.
Okay, I was confused about that. It didn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, she didn't just visit his grave. She visited his grave.
Okay, that makes a little... Alright, her line after that makes a little more sense, or more disturbing sense.
Yeah, I should not have seen that. Yeah, I don't think you want to overwrite those memories. But basically, Victor made it a point to be there for each member of the family. And at the end, Vin is outside playing with the dog, still throwing that ball. The dog ends up in the house across the street, which is for sale. And he walks in on Victor reporting to the Avengers about everything he's learned so far about the Vision's family.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think when you read that? Because when I first read it, my thought was, oh, crap.
Yeah, that was exactly... I was just like, oh, no.
I wasn't sure what to make of it. I was like, okay, this is strange.
Well, I mean, it's no secret that Victor means well. He's not trying to hurt anybody. But the fact that the person that discovers him is one of the most inexperienced of the Vision's family of dealing with crises is not a good sign. And all you see at the end of the issue is Victor expressing his magnetic powers and Vin screaming for some reason, which could have been multiple reasons. So issue 9 picks up pretty much right after that point, and the cover was frackin' ominous.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a crumbled up Vision android of some sort in a can, and taped to the side is "Here lies a Vision, may God have mercy on its soul." Way to build the tension before you even open the issue.
Yeah.
There was something interesting, though, in the first page where in between, you know, Vin crying for, or Vin saying mother, Virginia and Viv trying to talk in Viv's room.
Yeah, with Viv floating upside down.
And let alone the two of them trying to relate to each other as, you know, child versus adult and what's proper under such situations.
Yeah.
Because this almost seems like one of our pop cultural profiling moments when you talk about what does a family do when it has superhero or superpowers, when all of them have superpowers. You know, how does that affect the little things like privacy?
Yeah.
You know, because you got to know for characters like Wolverine, it's got to be pretty hard to get privacy when there's somebody in the house that can hear and smell everything you're doing. Poor Kitty Pryde and Colossus.
Or poor Wolverine, since he can't turn that stuff off.
Yeah, and
there's a reason why he always went out riding on his motorcycle.
Yeah. So the minor flashbacks in between things going on, you get a little more of a history and mindset on Victor Mancha, and he was a quasi-addict, as it turns out, for vibranium. He was always drawn to vibranium because I guess the minor vibrations vibranium gave off just calmed him down.
I'm wondering if it had something to do with his magnetic powers.
Could be. It may also have something to do with the programming of Ultron deep-seated in there. Maybe he always sought out vibranium on some level. Because that's one thing we didn't mention, is that Victor Mancha was built to be a Trojan horse for the Avengers. He was built to work his way into the team, and then as soon as he had their absolute trust, there was supposed to be some kind of Trojan horse or worm to destroy the team from the interior. And that personality is called Victorious, which is something he always worked to never become.
Right.
So, obviously, Vin is trying to escape Victor's magnetic field, which would cause Victor to just turn it up, and I guess some people would argue that, you know, he should be able to turn intangible, but if you can turn up enough power on a magnetic field, you can disrupt just about anything.
Well, it struck me that, you know, he was doing something that interfered with Vin's programming, since, you know, at the same time as you're seeing this happening, Victoria is sitting there going, why can't we access, you know, their personal servers? So that means that, you know, he was doing more than just holding him with the magnetic field. He was doing something that kept them from being able to access.
Or maybe he was disrupting it.
Yeah.
That was my guess. That was my guess, was that the intensity of the magnetic field probably made it impossible for a wireless connection. He probably just overpowered the transmission.
Mm.
Because as far as I understand it, Victor Mancha's powers are limited to magnetics. And the last couple memories of him working with the Vision before he turned up that field to way too high was really a stab in the heart of the reader. And then we find out how exactly George and Nora Knowles died. We read in the first issues that they were going to die in a fire somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out that fire is from Vin's last act of defiance when he accidentally fired a solar beam out of the house for sale, across the street, and right into George and Nora's house. It was an accidental death.
Yeah.
And the end of the issue, Vin is completely deactivated. The magnetic field makes it impossible to revive him. His corporeal and incorporeal nervous systems have been completely disrupted. And the last pages are of the Vision cradling Vin, Virginia standing over the two of them, and poor Victor in the corner just
broken.
Yeah, he's got nothing left. So what did you think when you reached this point? Because I read that and I was so sad, but I couldn't stop reading.
Yeah, no, I was just like, okay, there's two more issues to go.
I'll be honest, I would have hated to wait a month to read the next issue.
Yeah.
I despised it, frankly. Because I needed more of this story, like, every time it finished. It was just like, don't stop there. Please don't stop there. You're pricks. And this also makes me sad that Tom King has signed that exclusive and is working on Batman, because after 12 issues, I could have done with another 12 issues of this story. The beginning of issue 10, after obviously Victor's been arrested for Vin's murder, Vin has been buried, or at least disassembled, I guess, because we never found a grave, and the Vision is sitting alone in the dark in his living room, using the vibranium lighter Captain America gave him over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Gave off a very serial killer vibe. Let alone the conversation he had with Virginia as they're getting ready for bed.
Yeah.
Which was just creepy, because it was a very matter-of-fact statement about justice and how everything that's happened up to this point is unjust.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a reasonable argument, but it's just he's discussing it with so little passion, it makes it sound rather frightening.
Yeah.
Well, especially because then she's sitting there knowing what she's done.
Mm-hmm. Which he still kept from him to this point. And then the conversation the next morning when he's laying out his options, or what's going to happen to Viv since they've all been put under house arrest by the Avengers. And then you notice part of the conversation is happening with an empty chair at the table. Which is, again, another stab directly at the reader.
Yeah.
And Virginia's issues seem to be back to bad. The stammering has started again.
Yeah.
I think this is caused by stress.
They were all starting to do it.
Virginia was the only one I noticed doing it. The others were talking fine, but they were... Viv was finding new, I guess you could say, new answers to her questions now that she couldn't talk to her brother, and the Vision was still having trouble grappling with all this as a concept. But Virginia seemed to be in the middle of a general breakdown. That the scenes with Viv and Vision trying to pray for the soul of Vin and what was going to happen next.
Oh, I'm not a religious person, but dude, I can't. I cannot say it helps people. It doesn't help me, but it does help people, and I'll give it that. But that was hard to look at.
Well, that was Viv looking for solace of any sort, because she didn't want to think that just because Vin ceased to be, that he ceased to be. Which is all most mortal beings are looking for, really. The minor things happening, the dog eating the plant off the Wondergore bush there. And everybody doing their best to cope, which is just not working. And that, towards the end of the issue, the Vision sitting alone in Vin's room, playing that recording of him trying to do Shakespeare.
Where he actually took his eye out in order to be able to kind of view it.
It's a reverse Terminator scene, to be honest.
I think that's part of the strength of what the artist and Tom King put together here, was that they made the Vision an emotionally relatable character while still making it very apparent that he is nowhere near human.
Mm-hmm.
But that final scene of the Vision in front of his door, which is still closed off with a force field, using the vibranium lighter Captain America gave him to force his way through the field and then fly off, man, that's a frickin' statement.
Yeah. For a person without any emotion, he is really pissed.
Yeah, and the scene didn't have any narration, but you could tell by the intent and the small facial expressions that the artist put on here, this was the equivalent of, screw all of you, I'm doing what I want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let alone the occasional scenes of his feet, cracking the floorboards of his house the harder he pushed against the force field. And that last scene when Nova runs in on Jane Foster Thor and Iron Man training, and he tells him the Vision is gone. Tony Stark tells him that they launched for DC-5, and Nova says, okay, but by everybody, you mean everybody, now!
Yeah. And then when you actually see who everybody was, it was just like, wow.
That was a much bigger roster than I expected.
Yeah. Especially with Doctor Strange there, I was just like, you're even bringing him in. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. This series was written by Tom King. The artist on most of these issues was Gabriel Hernandez Walta. The color artist was Jordi Belair. The letter and production was done by VC's Clayton Cowles. I should add that just for the sake of. Everybody deserves credit for what they do.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of issue 11, when Virginia is going over the possible scenarios for what happens to Vision's family as he does what he intends to do is stark and frightening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way she lays it out is the options are he kills Victor, which means he'll eventually be put down by the Avengers and his family will be deactivated as dangerous. Or he fails, the Vision will be imprisoned, and they'll still be deactivated because they were created by a dangerous individual.
Right.
So either way, the family has very few options, at least the way she sees things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following issue, there's the Vision floating above the prison where Victor's being held, and on the roof is Tony Stark, Medusa, Spider-Man, the Beast, Jane Foster Thor, Sam Wilson, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Monica Rambeau, Miss Marvel, and the Blue Marvel, among many others. And if you don't know half those characters, I invite you to look them up, because half of them are in cosmic-level teams, frankly. If not damn near cosmic-level themselves.
Yeah.
And in the end, they still couldn't stop this one pissed-off synthezoid.
I just loved his phrase, I am going in there. I do not, I would like your permission, but I do not require it.
Yeah. I'm here to visit Victor in his cell. Then I will kill him for killing Vin. I would greatly appreciate your cooperation in this matter. However, I do not require your cooperation in this matter.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going in there. There's nothing you can do to stop me.
Yeah, in subsequent pages, we also find Miss America and Crystal. Again, heavy hitters. However, it should also be noted, though, that it was very likely that this assembled crew was not very hip on killing the Vision just to stop him. No. However, he made it pretty clear that that wouldn't be his first attempt, but he was fully capable of rising to murder to get through them.
Yeah, although he didn't.
He didn't, but it was on the table. He made that extremely clear. And then back at the house, Virginia decides to share with Viv that she was the accidental cause of her love interest death. I had to pick that word very carefully because she wanted a boyfriend, but that's not what she got in the end.
Mm-hmm.
They knew each other very shortly, and he had just started to warm up to her when he died. And that last phrase, though, after Viv in her anger crushed the dinner table, she screamed out, "He said I was cool, and my mother killed him!" Virginia tries to stop her, and then she starts to float through the ceiling saying, "It just goes through me." Which wasn't the most direct statement of, I don't want to hear it and I feel nothing, but if you know the context of this series, crap.
Yeah.
So more scenes of Vision taking on the combined Avengers and Inhumans in front of him, and they do not fare well.
Nope.
And meanwhile, back at the house, Virginia has a complete nervous breakdown. I guess you could say the end result was triggered by the dog because it wouldn't stop barking in her face, but it's not the overall cause. It was just the trigger.
No, I think she did that with intent. Because
she needed an outlet, I think is what happened.
Well, no, because she knew how to use the flower, and that's immediately what she did. After she ended up doing that to the dog, she did the same thing that Agatha Harkness did with the cat. She went in and re-ate the flower petal.
Yeah, but she couldn't have known the dog ate it.
Why couldn't she?
I think I'm going to side with Jesse on that one, because the dog ate it while she was busy in the prior issue.
Yeah. And she just saw it after she wrecked the thing.
Yeah, she was zoned out at the piano when the dog ate the plant. So I think she knew what to do when she found the flower, but I don't think her original cause was to kill the dog to get the flower. Because she had, in the narration, it always sounded like she had these partial memories that she always had trouble kind of placing. So I think the right word for she had a notion of what to do when she found it, but it wasn't her original intent.
It was also kind of interesting seeing, or reliving Vision's initial activation.
Yeah, that was just odd. Although it does, again, I've never had much context on the Vision because I didn't like the Avengers pre-Disassemble in 2004. I always thought they were a little too stereotypical superhero for my taste. But to get this kind of history as to the Vision, it really helps crystallize what I think of him as a character. And they've in the course of 12 issues, they added a ton of depth to him for me.
Yeah.
You know, especially towards the end when he made it very clear that even though the Scarlet Witch was, it sounds like, close to talking him down, she still didn't manage, and he actually put hands on her. Which is something way back when he never would have done.
Right. But at the same time, you know, he was over that whole thing. And, you know, she was trying to talk him down, but she just completely missed. You know.
Yeah. Well, the other thing was Agatha Harkness's image or ghost was still there. And after he was done with the Scarlet Witch and put her down, he looked at her and just said, "Agatha, will there be more? Or are we finished?" Which, again, is not quite the same context most humans would use, but if you understand the character, that was close to a threat.
Yeah, he was just like, you know, bring it. If you got more, bring it.
Yeah. So he finally beats his way through everybody. He has Victor one-on-one, and Victor's resigned himself to fate. He's pretty much sure he's going to die. Did anyone expect the hand to come through his back from Virginia?
No. I was like, did they do this wrong? Until I turned to the next page and was like...
You thought it was bad art direction?
Yeah! It was like, oh!
And, I mean, even the Vision was extremely perplexed. You know, he even said, "I do not understand." Which I think was everybody else's version of, what just happened? And she ripped out Victor's heart. To which Victor was almost pleased because now he can't fulfill the destiny that was laid out for him by Ultron.
Right.
It's sad.
It is sad. And then Virginia just drops the heart and at the end of the issue says, "I will see you at home." Like everything's Tuesday.
No, she was saying that, you know, first she relays the fact that she told Viv about what happened. She was upset, would not talk to Victoria, so, you know, she wanted Vision home because, you know, he could comfort her the way that, you know, Victoria couldn't, and, you know, "I will see you at home."
Yeah, but she didn't wait there for anything. She just said, "I will see you at home."
Yep.
It was a simple statement. Like, everything else was just happening as it should. Or as it had been.
And that was the end of the issue. It's like, God damn it! Another month!
Cliffhanger! Tom King really knows how to put together a frickin' cliffhanger. The 12th issue opens, and Virginia called the police to lay out the timeline of events as to how she killed the Grim Reaper and how CK accidentally died, and CK's father was put in a coma by her diamond hard fist. Well, she hit him with a diamond hard fist. I needed to rephrase that.
Yeah.
And then she says that she used her user level access to reprogram the Vision to make him think she was there, which is something the IO9 people put in and just said it's kind of cheap how they took away a lot of the emotional turmoil the Vision was feeling throughout this series in a very simple fix. To which after I read this issue, I'm like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, no. She was lying about that. She was lying about the two particular points where she went in and adjusted him.
I know. She lied through her teeth at that situation, and they made it very clear in subsequent dialogue. Yes, the flashback made it questionable, but if you actually read the whole issue word for word, it was very clear she lied.
Yep.
You know, and then she took a sip from that water vase of Zen Law, which we found out in the first half of this series. It can't have flowers in it because the fields that hold the water together make it poisonous.
Which I found kind of interesting, that it was actually poisonous enough to harm, you know, the synthoids.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. Here's the other thing: is she ate that flower and actually got a vision of the future.
Mm-hmm.
So is she alive or is she still fully synthetic?
Well, synthezoids are always kind of an interesting in-between when it comes to Marvel. It's like even in the movie, they portrayed Vision as not necessarily an android, but definitely not human. It's a whole new form of life.
Right.
You know, one that's created like a lot of androids, but once it's completed, it has a lot of aspects of life to it. It was really kind of weird how when the Vision arrived home, the first thing he did was not talk to anybody. He went upstairs and changed into his non-superhero daytime clothes.
Right.
You know, and then he just wanted to sit down and talk, and he found out that she drank from the water of the Zenlaw vase, and she refused to turn intangible and let the water drop. She knew this thing was killing her, but this was her her end as she saw it. And when she requested that he sit just so she could lean her head on his shoulder.
Yeah.
I have not cried reading comic books, but that was close. Because...
it was...
Well, it was one of those moments where you realize that Virginia probably at this point, between her vulnerabilities, her choices, and everything she's done, now that she's laid it all bare, is probably the closest she will ever get to human in the final moments of her life.
Yeah.
You know, she still didn't understand people worth a damn, but she seemed to become human enough where she could, you know, she was extremely relatable in the last few moments, and she really didn't even finish her last couple sentences before she died.
Yeah, well, I would say that, yeah, she probably still didn't really understand humans, but she understood family, and she understood the importance, you know, seeing the future and everything else. She obviously arrived, very logically at the decisions that she made, but, you know, even still, it was very relatable as far as, like, you know, I'll take the hit so that nobody else has to suffer.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, she saw from her future vision that she saw from her spell that if the vision followed through on what he was going to do, he was going to annihilate the planet for his family. And instead of allowing her family to basically be the last things alive, you know, Virginia killed Victor so that she could save what was left of her family as well as the planet.
Right.
You know, she took her... I guess you could say she took both the responsibility of her family and what she is seriously enough to actually do what she did.
Yeah. The line where she basically said, you know, you have saved the Earth 37 times. I have done it once. And, you know, it was... What did she say? It was nice, or...
Yeah, she said it was nice, and he said, no, my love, it was kind.
Right.
Which is also a concept she made very clear from issue 1 she didn't get. Still doesn't get, but it's unimportant to her. You know, it was one of those things I picked up on during the read of the whole thing as a block, was that as much as they made references to it throughout the series, this whole thing is like a Greek or Shakespearean tragedy from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't make it bad. It's a sad and stark read, but it's, in my opinion, it's probably one of the most solid overall titles Marvel has put out in a very long time. You know, what?
I was going to say, it makes me very frustrated that this writer is now doing DC, although I guess it gives me hope for Batman.
In the next couple pages, Viv is trying to relay everything that's happened to the Scarlet Witch, who is trying to help Viv understand why her mother did everything she did. And I think it's a lot like talking to most teenagers. You can explain it as well as possible, but it's still going to... Your intent is going to be understood, but it's still not going to come through completely.
Yeah.
However, the Scarlet Witch and Tony Stark combining to fix the dog will probably help quite a bit. And then the last couple pages where Viv is trying to relay to her father that she's still going to go to school because she wants to try to be normal, even though she is very aware she will never be normal.
Right.
And which is kind of a meta-textual way that most teenagers feel about their lives. They'll try to fit in, but they'll never feel completely normal.
You know, and then I'm sitting here looking at that, I'm going, okay, so they're ending it on a positive note, and then they go to the next page, and I'm just like, crap.
Yeah. As soon as Viv leaves, the Vision opens a secret panel, which opens some kind of long chamber. He opens it up, and he's building another synthezoid, and he's singing "Row, row, row your boat" as he does it.
And, you know, shushes the dog, you know, by putting the finger in. I'm just like, oh, man.
Yeah, it makes me wonder who that is in there.
I was assuming he was trying to rebuild Victoria.
Who?
Not Virginia.
Or not Victoria, Virginia, yeah.
Okay. I was about to say, you don't build World Wrestling Federation talent this way. I don't know what you're talking about.
That could be really...
Yeah,
I don't know.
It could be really great or really terrible, because trying to recreate Virginia could be horrible. You know, the first time didn't work out too well, but then again, the Vision is somebody who generally does learn pretty well from his mistakes. So if he rebuilds himself a wife, it could turn out better. The only problem is, though, the Vision is, when he makes mistakes, he makes royal mistakes. You know, stealing Kang as an infant was not a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I just noticed.
Although you have to admit, you know, Wanda doesn't do things by halves either.
No. At least not when she was I'd like to say that was Wanda, but as we know, it's been retconned so that Doctor Doom was messing with her damn neural network.
Right.
So that sucks so much heart out of that story. I like the idea more that the Scarlet Witch might actually be insane. That was a story to me.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm noticing a detail in the last few pages on Viv. She has that necklace with the 3 yellow diamonds.
Yeah.
Did she always have that?
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious about.
The single diamond, obviously, is the solar gem that the Vision concentrates his beams through when he uses it.
Yeah.
The 3 diamond symbol was one that was used by the rest of the family to signify the family.
Okay.
So that's been constant. If you look at some of Vin's T-shirts, he also wore a 3 diamond symbol on them.
Okay, all right.
So it was one of those cases where when we read about Tom King signing that exclusive, it was like 5-6 months ago. This series was still in full swing. Where it ended made me truly wish that he would continue this frackin' story, because it seemed like there was a lot more to be done. And I think this story actually would have benefited from the Vision's current role in the Avengers post-Civil War II, as well as Viv now being a member of the Champions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really would have been interested to read about the dynamic as to how they relate to each other, both as a family and as superheroes with differing ideologies. But let alone the idea that the Vision is working on a new member, or updated version at least, member of the family, I really would have liked to have known more about what that was going to bring forward. Because at this point, it could have been one of a number of different characters he was building there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, wouldn't have been sick if he was working on a repair of Victor. That's something that just occurred to me, which wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility. What were you guys' overall opinion on this? Because I was actually floored by that I read something that made me so emotionally upset, but I still needed more of it.
Yeah, I mean, this got dark really fast, but the amount of emotion and humanity packed into this, you know, it really amazed me.
You know, stupid ex-CIA PSYOP agents and their writing abilities. You know, if you're looking for this as somebody listening to the show and curious what we're talking about, you will have a hard time finding back issues. You are better off going to Amazon and buying the first volume trade paperback and the second one as soon as it comes out, because most comic shops, they don't have copies of this left. I have been looking. And if it wasn't for the trades, I wouldn't have anything.
Guess I know what I'm looking for next convention we go to.
Man, the first volume came out as of like the fall convention I went to, Long Beach Comic-Con. It didn't last the first day.
Wow.
Even the trades were gone.
Now, I will admit, at the end of this, I had a different idea in my head what the final pages were like of the comic until you guys kind of corrected me at the beginning of with the Virginians lie to the police. It's like, oh wait, yeah, okay, I kind of bought into that. So, it's like, oh wait, so yeah, because my thought process was like, Viv uploads herself into the Vision. I
am super glad that Tom King made that clear that she had lied, because if they had actually taken that away from the Vision, it would have been almost as bad as taking away the Crazy from the Scarlet Witch. You know, that would have pulled a lot of the development right out of this story, which would have been sad. I need to get the second volume trade paperbacks. I got the issues, thankfully, but I need to get the second volume, because as my daughter is growing older, she's getting more and more into comic book heroes and curiosities. You know, she borrows my anime DVDs and stuff. And I think this is the type of thing she should read. It's emotionally complicated. It's relatable on a lot of different levels, you know, for both dealing with children, dealing with adults, dealing with other people, and the eventual anger that can even come out of good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the kind of thing that even my 12-year-old would read with aplomb and just kind of come back and ask, is there more of this? Please tell me there's more of this. Then I have to tell her no. Then she might solar beam me in the face. So,
what more? Let's go read Batman.
She won't like that answer.
There's a solar beam to the face.
You think I have issues with reading Batman? Try giving her an issue. The Stare. The Stare is very unnerving. But, this is one of those stories that definitely suffers a little bit in issues because you have a chance to lose the minor details that can make the whole cohesiveness of this story really sing.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of those stories that really needs to be read in trade format, and if you can get both trades, sit down for a good 2 hours, read the whole thing. You'll be astonished at how much you will relate to a non-human entity by the time this is done. What do you guys think? What age groups is this good for? Because young kids will not understand half the things they're looking at.
No, yeah, this would be older teen and up, I would say.
Yeah, if they're open-minded. If they're closed-minded, they're going to think it's probably garbage. But
I would say mid-teen. If you're about halfway through middle school, that's a good place to come into this because you'll at least have context for a lot of the emotions that the kids are starting to go through, and you'll have at least had enough conversation with your parents where you can at least say, yeah, I've heard that before. Not necessarily, my dad's evil half-brother smashing through the wall and impaling my twin with a scythe. That's kind of new, but, I get the rest.
Yeah.
But, this to me was a big thumbs up in an area where I usually don't like this kind of story. I'm not into tragedies in general, but this was really worth the time.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I think we've kind of said most of it.
Writing
was excellent. Rousing endorsement from the slumber. So, as we said, next week you guys have got the Extra Life event with Mission Start Podcast, and I don't think I can horn in on your time long enough to get anything done. And Steve may be out. So, Jesse, anything you've been looking at on the horizon?
Captain America Steve Rogers.
I'm going to assume you have a crush on the man as often as you bring him up.
I want to read the story.
If you just say I want to read it, fine. But every time I ask, is there anything you've been looking at? Captain America Steve Rogers. God, you keep staring at his butt in the red, white, and blues? What's going on with you, dude?
Is that what they call the book?
The red, white, and blues? No. We're going to have a conversation later. So I guess the next storyline we read, we'll reconvene in a couple weeks, and it'll be Captain America Steve Rogers issues 1 through 6?
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. I invite you to roll with us again in a couple weeks. Thank you very much. Sorry for the erstwhile break. It takes a while to do this show while I have a day job. There is a rumor that one of potentially one of the vice presidents of DC may hear from us soon, as well as us gearing up because in approximately 4 weeks we have to sit down with Neil Gaiman. Not Neil Gaiman, geez, that would be something. Neil Adams, Bob Layton, the Frazetta Girls, Len Wein, and several others at Great American Comic-Con in Las Vegas, Nevada, December 3rd and 4th. You guys keep getting mad when I say we, so I have to host the panels involving all guests of honor, question them, and hope that Howard Chaykin does not kill me. So, if you're going to be in Las Vegas, I really invite you to come by. We'll be open for conversation. We'll be on the floor. We'll be hosting panels. And, maybe you'll find out that now that you've seen us, you really wish you hadn't seen us. Thank you very much. Have a great one. I am Jeremy.
Steve. And Jesse.
Don't jerk and drive. Take care. God, that phrase is almost coming back into reason to say it now that snow's going to hit the upper U.S. pretty soon. Do not jerk and drive. It's a very bad thing.